It is time.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time. It's time.
It is time.
It's the Money Show.
The Money Show.
The Money Show. The Money Show.
The Money Show.
Makodem Mandibo. Let the conversation begin.
Good evening. Welcome to the Money Show. Makodem Mandibo. Afambo Chuka. Anya pụtasị ọzọ ka ịkpa nkata ụmụ Igbo, nkata ọganiru, nkata idozi obodo, nkata ịdị n'otu. Nwanne nwanyị, Ekime, Cecilia, can you hear me?
Oh, nah, I was talking. No, I thought I was speaking. I'm fine. Kekimerena.
Udo dio, anọ m no. Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are you?
It's good. I'm fine. I wonder when the Igbo jello na this weekend. And where na-eke ego somewhere.
I don't know. The country is hard, so everybody do what they can to see how they can make ends meet.
God, it's quite strange. Today is Saturday.
And this is a fairly controversial topic. So for some, it's very touchy for some people.
Also kind of.
It's a very controversial topic. Some people are going to find it
offensive.
Offensive. Yes, it's a fairly. Both the giver and the recipients, both of them have issues with the black tax.
That is actually a fact. I'm not want to feel this up now. Some things are inevitable, Makbale na public, Makbale private, Makbale na timeline. I got bad in Qatar. What do you get me about it? Anything anything that affects people in some way, it will be discussed. I got bad in what are they?
But it's hard. It's hard for both parties, right?
Yeah.
And on some level, I understand what drives it.
Yes.
But having been at the given end for a while, I also just understand you're just thinking, what the hell? Just get out of my life, I beg. Yeah. So it's hard, and there's also at least for me there's also a bit of guilt. Why are you doing well and they're not doing well? Why are you able to help and they're not able to help? There's also, I don't know, it's complicated. It's very complicated.
And it's actually not just Ifendebai, it's actually an African thing. In fact, it's a black man thing. That's why they call it black tax. Even though it's not exclusive to black people, I think it also happens with the Indians and some other people from the other parts of the world. But in Kanywa, the unique in a way, I think it's somehow...
It's cultural for us. It's like an obligation,
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's hard. It's very hard. But what I do know is that even though we mean well, we create dependence, and we create people who can't function, who have gotten used to knowing that there is a handout coming somewhere, or there's someone going to build them out, and so the sort of resilience you need, the sort of stamina, sort of can-do spirit you need to try as a human person, they don't develop it. So on some level, I have some friends who've sort of said to me, some are not Igbo, some are Igbo, and they think that you enable that behavior because you have learned that I have to be up and doing. I have to make sure I have money. I have those bills. Their responsibility. Actually, factor them in month by month. And for the people that you're helping, they have gotten used to knowing that every month this will come. Or even if it doesn't come, even if I have an emergency that's not my monthly, he or she will move the heavens to make sure that I'm fine. They haven't learned they haven't acquired for themselves that sort of, I don't know, there's no help coming anywhere. Then you quickly go get.
Can we possibly just to bring some balance to this conversation? Any chance we can look at how has black tax culture helped us? How has it really done anything? Has it really uplifted the people in any way? Do you think that the Iba boy culture kind of derives a little from the black tax idea? Because black tax is just about when you want to
absolutely. I don't think that the black tax has been a waste, and I'll be honest. I think that some people have used it well. I think that's, it has been, for some people, they would have been, without that black tax, they would never have gone to school. I have very close relatives whose mom died very early, soon after their father died. So, they are orphans, right? And it was their mom's sister who raised them all, put her life on hold, raised them. That's black tax. That's not obligation, but she did it. Without her, I don't know what the story of those relatives of mine would look like. Right, it would be a completely different story today. And that black tax was welcome. We're grateful, more than grateful. Everybody is grateful. I know some other sort of orphans, again, they were orphaned much earlier. And then from their father's side, some of their relatives sort of made sure they took them and trained them. And then from their mother's side, as they were growing older, they contributed to sending them to school. They wouldn't have gone to school without the black tax, period. And this is just the ones I know. There's several others. I mean, every family in Alibo has lots of those stories.
Yes.
And yeah, so it's not a bad thing in that sense. It's great. However, with every good thing,
yeah.
no,
so maybe
it's amazing, to be honest. It's good. It's good. And even for the giver, you take pride in, like, oh, I trained that person.
This is where there's a problem. This one, where there's a problem, because I since I was a kid up till now, I always hear once in a while from one family, one uncle, one aunt, one relative somewhere who says that the father trained this particular person who is now doing very, very well. My father was in school, or my mother was in school. That talk, or even the people who train the person, or whatever, that seems to also.
What is wrong with that? Sorry, what is wrong with that?
Okay.
What is wrong? Let me ask you, what is wrong with the fact that they say I trained this person? They're not trained the person.
No, if it usually comes up when there's. See my point here. It always comes up when there is a quarrel or something like that.
Sometimes it doesn't come up when there's a quarrel. Sometimes
when there is. I agree. I'm not actually place a need, actually place a demand on somebody. Maybe mother try send them or one mother and I go somebody go or now help the person I respond to be or say after all papa or my mom or whatever Zulugen at school or Zulonia at school when they may for on so that kind of resonates in a way that it makes it look like it's entitlement, but
yes, it
I
is
think
Chuka, let me respond to this particular issue, okay? Number those Rogona school, you owe that person one, period. Because they got educate me investments where we just make enjoyment their own life.
Boring.
It stressed them to put that money when they were training in school. It stressed them, as in the stress had to have on ourselves. They let go of many things. Then you finish the school and you don't want to pay it forward. You don't want to say thank you. No, what for you? Oh yes, why are you paying you? Why are you proud in this wrong way? Parents I don't understand.
It's more like calling out. So it's more like calling out. Oh, the Kimon go there before. You sound like you've done this before.
Be grateful now. Sorry, thank God that's not answer. Don't complain. Every day. It's in your hand. Because without them, where you for be? What's that prouding about? Of course, they're not coming to vomit in their face, but it's a fact it's just a fact that whoever that trains somebody, gave up a lot of things for that to happen.
Mm.
And so what I find sometimes is that the recipients of the beneficiary do not understand that sometimes the giving was not out of largesse. It was because
there
you
was a
felt
sacrifice.
an and because you felt this has to be done. So it cost the giver quite a bit. But they feel, oh well, at least if I train them, they won't be a burden on me going forward. Because they're also doing the maths. Or at least only I got school more. Or we each other say on some level there's a bit also.
Suddenly, I can't hear Mary anymore. Mary, can you still hear me? Service culture. When going to go, they find also going to school.
Well, as in has room na school, I'll be very grateful every day till I die. You understand? And why is because Egwa has seen, and maybe when I start working, I would even be more grateful every day again till I die. Because I'm saying this because I feel fortunate that I'm part of those kids that no relative, dead or alive, can claim that they put 1 naira to train
your education.
Do you understand? It's all my parents all the way, and I'm extremely grateful to them. Do you get? So when I see people whose parents were disadvantaged, or maybe I will not say disadvantaged, but for some reason it's not coming from your parents. You know, your parents have that responsibility. They brought you into the world, so they are responsible for, to a very large extent, a huge part of it, right? And
absolutely.
Then if you have parents that didn't outsource it to someone else, or who were disadvantaged at some point, and someone else took up that responsibility that your parents couldn't take up, why are you having a problem with somebody bringing it up? If your parents that brought you to the world couldn't step up to the plate, even bring it up in the front of the church, you got on tell everyone that did not even hear that what this person said is true. And because you need to say that every you die, because that's not the easy. Do you understand? So, but you see, you don't have small money. You now feel that I don't know how people, you see, self-esteem issues will continually keep up being self-esteem issues. And one of the reasons why a lot of people refrain from doing a lot of things is the sense, I think to a very large extent, there's a lot of sense of entitlement from a lot of angles that shouldn't have been in the first place, right? It shouldn't have. You have been trained, you now have money, and probably thanks to your money, you now feel, prouder than yourself, prouder than you would have been earlier, right? So you now feel like nobody should ever bring it up. Let it be a dead topic. First off, I find that very offensive, because just because you feel like you've made it in life, then does not mean every other person is deaf and dumb. Or everybody else have Alzheimer's and have forgotten, that there was a before the current you and there's a current you. Now, I think that instead of using it as a concern, you should use it as a source of motivation to motivate you to pick up other people that are disadvantaged or where
and pay forward.
Pay for exactly. You understand? You understand?
I actually think that it's. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that naturally, let me put it this way: if people invested or someone invested in your life in a very deep and significant manner, it should be something easy for you to pronounce. That I'm here to. I mean, I have seen it happen in a couple of places, So these things come up. I don't know how they mixed up, but I think it has to do with understanding. Gratitude is something that should be natural for us, especially where we had to build from the scratch after losing everything. And I think that's where this black tax thing came from. That's 1970, starting from the scratch experience, So Bogota, if I get mellows and because on do and all that. I think that's where this started. So yeah, I agree with you 100%, both of you. But I want to ask a question. This black tax, from what you're saying, from what you guys are saying now, it became just clear to me right now that it applies more to school fees. Does it apply more to paying of school fees or paying for training than it applies to urgent 2K? Because I think people are more moved to do the one of paying for school fees or something like that.
Because what I would say is that my experience is that it differs and depends on what your own reality is. For some people, it is plus school fees or plus feeding money or plus for some others,
medical tax, yeah.
For some others, it is just school fees.
Burial.
I'm a woman, so I generally tend to fly over my head. Unlikely they're going to call me a madam. No, I'm going sorry. Very unlikely. That's very unlikely that's going to be my own reality in terms of the taxes as a woman. Very unlikely. I mean, they may say, oh, maybe transfer money to go for the burial, but actually, like, madam, what they go? What's that? I mean, unlikely. Just period, right? But I think that what you tend to do depends on your own circumstances. Sometimes it is that there's an older relative who isn't married, doesn't have kids, so that's black tax there, period. Somehow somebody has to take care of that. That is going on until the person dies, just period. So it varies from school fees to I guess that the thing is that it get also for the person who's given, even though you understand the why of why you're doing it, it is tiresome because your income is fixed, or even if it's not fixed, there is a particular amount. And what I found is that of course, when you're younger, when your needs are not as much, you have a bit more disposable income. As you grow older, it's change, but those obligations haven't changed. So if you are doing school fees, that means you're doing school fees, and depending from when you picked up school fees, you're doing school fees for at least 15 to 18 years, depending on when you picked it up. Even though your life and your sort of your disposable income is no longer as large as it used to be, those needs are growing and have not stopped. And then what I was saying earlier, what I have, I mean, this is again my own lived experience, my observations is that the black tax creates a dependency mentality, which unfortunately makes the persons who are beneficiaries unable to become the best versions of themselves, because they know that if push comes to shove, somebody will pick up this tab. And I think that is a disservice. That wasn't the intention of black tax.
Could it
have
be?
All of these issues.
Could this apply? Is it possible that this, what you just said now, applies only when it doesn't, when it's not about school fees? Because if it's about school fees, let's say someone comes from a family where, even though the dad has done well, the dad's brothers, didn't do very well, so they have kids, and there are like 7 kids or 8 or 12 kids in the picture, and there are like 5 of you. So when you can pick your dog, I say, can you just stay there in school? Let them go to school. I mean, they're going to finish school. They're going to look for work at some point. I mean, putting them to school doesn't really necessarily dampen their aspirations or dampen their drive to work hard in life, right?
So again, like I said, my experience is not necessarily everybody's experience. I'm just speaking from my own lived experience. Yes. I have seen that black tax sort of ruin people, because they had gotten used to someone either picking the tabs or somebody having the connections that they think they need to drive, that when that they were not able to access it anymore, they just couldn't look inwards to do what needed to be done. And so that is why you have this which are going now has a model, the very stingy, complain, doesn't end. No. And so just sort of reviewing that, what I found from just reviewing it and assessing it is that two things. They have gotten used to this, that the skills that you as someone who is what's the word I would use, someone who recognizes that, you know, apart from my own bills, I have XYZ dependent on me. So you are frugal, you are hardworking, you're looking for how do I make ends meet. These are skills that my lived experience, that the people who are the beneficiaries of this black tax to a large extent do not have, cannot, not they cannot have it, but they are not able to do the needful until Obana Nkare. Has no sense. Let me prove a point. Frankly, I don't care at that point. I'm very happy for you to prove the point, so everybody wants to prove to. But some of them also, even if I got Nankare, you still don't say it. So it doesn't mean, I don't think it happens for everybody, but I have seen that black tax do exactly this. They have gotten so used to knowing that no matter what happens, this person will provide. That when this person just thinks, you know what, I'm done. Or maybe life has happened and they're not able to continue to do it at that scale. Animosity that you cannot explain comes in. If he's a man and he has married a woman, the very wicked. So it creates a dependency. And that's something that and it's something that I have also spoken to people from other cultures. And they're saying, do you really think, you know, they're just like I'm thinking, but you have enabled these people because you're always provided. So they're not able to do what they should do.
I hear you. Hello, everyone. This is the MONI show. Welcome. Okay, I thought you were done. Sorry. Your network was wobbling.
Yeah, it creates a dependency. Culture that I think we can fix. The dependency culture and entitlement, like I'm entitled to this. I am not entitled to it. Yeah.
I'm going to cut ebe ụmụ ndị okwu na ibe ka ikwe nke ụmụ ibe ya. I'm going to cut ebe nkata dị ụfọdụ si na ọ dị offensive, ụfọdụ si na ọ na-represent their feelings, ụfọdụ sikwa na all the necessary to have this conversation. And the truth is that it is a burning issue now that the pain is penning, you know, now that the economy is shaking people out of their status downwards, you know, is changing people's lives negatively and a few people positively. So I think I can you know, and then Marokani if I gave me one about it. You know, is there really any alternative? Is there any way to tweak it? You know, get a Kosia work with it in the first place. That's what this conversation is about. So we would like you to join this conversation, request a mic, bring your views and your perspectives, and let us hear you and see what we can make of this conversation. Priscilla, you were saying something earlier before we hand it over to Mary. Can you hear me, Priscilla?
Loud and clear, I can.
Okay. There's a story I wanted to tell earlier. And we had many stories about this thing, actually. You know, if I may go in so many ways, But can I talk from off matter? When I was a kid in the 90s, I remember vividly. Baka Jakba was a big thing, you know. Ego Jakba Bidorobolo big thing. Keta all the goes common. That time remittance was coming in a different way because then we're all also Western Union money transfer and MoneyGram came with there. So if any wogabo your maybe somebody's uncle or auntie or something is in America or Germany, UK, Italy, name it. they send cars. They buy a Mercedes 200 or 230. They buy a 505. They buy a Honda Accord. All those cars and bring them in. But what happens is, the motor everybody said the motor can left some of them park here for. I noticed then that a lot of people, a lot of boys, especially of my age, a few older, a few younger, especially those older who were already old enough to drive cars, and even the ones who are not old enough to drive cars, is everywhere. So Ipotazia now was like this. For a lot of young kids, and I was able to park BIG, it's in your music very loud and on our so. And I has motor all over the place. You got phone you just now by any street, no. On there, what if it is serious on there? Just now by any street. But the ball of fuel, but you're not fuel and a motor. Oblivion now wally and I pay so it became a thing. It became a thing like one no yan of America or Obitoka Benz, Obitoka car. It became a thing. It took me like 10 years to understand the damage that was doing to people. Because these boys get immediately 5 years ago. They finish a secondary school. I can't have Benz. I can't have Honda. Now buy a boom, women on wine. Every park like these girls are buying motor. Hey, but in after like 10 years, I noticed that most of those guys in the boy those cars, they didn't amount to much. Because they were distracted by the frenzy of enjoying the wealth or the little money that comes from their sibling or their uncle from the diaspora. I noticed many of them couldn't do much with their lives. There was no aspiration because there was no delayed gratification. Even what they were supposed to go and hustle for had been provided. I mean, every young Igbo person would love to buy the mother a car if the mother doesn't have a car. Every young Igbo person would like to build the father a house if the father doesn't have a house. Even build the mother a house if the father was not around. Stuff like that. But maybe Emogozi older sibling, maybe the firstborn, they got a go motor already. Luan already. So what was if now goes this young boy I go in than just now Benz, like I said. I don't know if anybody here noticed what I'm talking about. It happens mostly in the East.
The dependency culture I was talking about. That's what it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just describe it. Because it is money they haven't earned. There's something about earning money. There's something it does, right? There's something about working for what is yours. It's money you haven't earned. You haven't really learned how the amount of hard work. And man, the school
hatchery job. Hatchery job.
To make that money. And then they send it home. And you are here cruising. Even at least in car cruise gan the motor. Oh, when did the chatarego esendreka onye nke ahụ ọ gago n'obodo Igbo we can no why for green card no ga plan kwa no nata send the ego ka arụ ụlọ send the ego the business. By the time he arrives here after he has spent 15-20 years, there is not one naira anywhere. It's no black tax. Oh no. It creates a dependency. I know of somebody. He had married a woman who couldn't have kids, but he was doing the best he could. When he was not thinking, I'm done, I'm coming home to marry. 1 naira. There was nowhere. The house they had said they had built for him was not built in his name. There was no land. It is only the grace of God. So just saying, I don't know. I think that we have to relook this black tax. It creates a dependency culture. That's what I have found. It wasn't the intention. It was meant to sort of lift people up. But what I have found is that where it becomes the norm, when there is no end date, or where it is not clear from day one that I'm doing this, only this, the recipients, don't pull their weight. One thing that I found sort of in when I have to do with people I don't really know is that I make sure I tell them I do not want them to know who has provided this. So you don't know the person. So you, of course, if you don't know the
Onye
person,
ghara ịbịa ọzọ.
one year be also two. You are never really sure
Ọma ngwa ndị
if
ọzọ.
it will continue.
Ọma ngwa ndị ọzọ.
So even if you're not coming
I
again,
understand.
you're even not sure if next year, like school fees, the person you put the school fees. So yeah, I'm about kumbonke anyway, because the maho no only know what Jesus metraka this year. No God available next because you don't know the person. Yeah, and
I agree with you.
I love that anonymity because what it does is that it's the person is very, very conscious that is not relying entirely on you. It's trying to see what they can do themselves to help themselves also.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a complicated conversation. It's real families. I've seen. I mean, complicated conversation.
Imani, yeah, topic about the issues with the black tax culture.
Yeah.
Black tax culture, man. Abịakwa na anyway, ka m kelee unu na-ekele onye ọbụla nọ na space kụnye service culture Mary ma ndị nọ na listener section m na-ekele unu. Good evening.
Daalụ nne.
The thing bụ this black tax culture dị ka omenala abịakwa n'ala Igbo ọ dị ka follow come ọ na ha abụ iwe nwanne n'obodo gị before gị ma ha na-azụta ozi na-enye aka. You know, before gị ma one person ọzọ onye ọzọ alala obodo oyibo from there, you know. So I feel is all the good and norm. Yes, enwe ndị na-abụ ofu onye obi elder brother or uncle ha na obodo oyibo. Then onye nke ya na the uncle nke n'obodo dị nso ọ ha na academy enjoy na-eme show na-live ozo life. You understand? Before gị ma onye ọzọ ana so ihe a dịka ọ dịka norm ọ dịka ihe a na-ahụ daily ọ dịka ihe a na-ahụ na family ewekwa family kwa ga-abụ onye ga obodo bụ ochefuo ala nna ya chefuzie onye ọbụla, you know, so chefuo onwe ya.
Ka o si emetụ gị nwa?
Na presently, well, I nwekwa ndị na-enye aka nwekwa ndị, you know, it's not easy there. In fact, for the past years, like mgbe m nọ primary secondary school, yes, I'm a $1 aka. One of my cousin, first cousin, gara Germany. Although gara so many European countries, 4 years settled down in Germany. Those times, on a battle like this, I got $1. I met $1 that time $100, up to more than 3 times. Oh, mom, come here the money. And on your come on, yeah, mom. So it was an enjoying thing. All that the fun.
But did it in any way douse your ambition or your aspirations as a person? Did it stop you from fighting for your own future?
Like them. Or that is a guy
or generally, well, when give me something, but they're going to get one.
Of course, you know, I think him and as at that time I've been too young. That's all. That's all. So the ambition as at then we weren't even looking at let's be like this person or that. So I want to become
rich,
a scientist. I want to become an engineer.
Okay.
That's what we just do. I want to be this. That's what we want to do. So Maduto. What doesn't HMB the Motakre? Oh, Takash now here. You know,
yes.
Even the admission, that particular one in admission. If he pass through the difficulty, if facing care, he will tell. You know, so that's life. I feel it's like a norm. I feel it's a norm. Pros and cons, no pros and cons, no kwane. So all depends on you. Get that like
that. Something many years ago, you know, and it made a lot of sense. Budget. On a percentage of his earning that is allotted to Inyalaka Ndezunona. You know?
Once
once a guy when they go exhausted, up to the next month. I before we keep up with anything. I got work again. I spend the go before I get spend for this month. Also next month, you know, and
How they can see my cousin in Kenya?
us not nearly a lot to plan his life, to plan his life properly.
Yeah.
So enjoy. I say, what about the emergency? You go and we emergency like a mother na one and the Joe no go. If I say no emergency, or will I go from next month? Solve all that problem. Then in next month, that is reduced. But man no katakwa. I said no. I said this is about self-discipline, financial discipline. No matter how to discipline yourself with your finances, you will still be giving people but you get a cap on how you spend, and you can also if also a lot of people don't look at their spending record.
Yes, bam.
A lot of people don't look at their spend. I just never put more the money I got. Like anyway, somebody personally, EBA go now. Opening that money in 6 months. Okay, Chefia. And I was here, that money, I got to get power. And the actual meaning again now. I said, well, okay, go Guinea. Next it is where Guinea open a refer better memory. Because that means indicate chief work carry. And all because of them with that that spending record on a nanya male big agent. But makana in spend too much, just keep male big generally. It will help you plan. So if I konya kusisilum then so not go see a mail nanki ada at all. I not a black tax culture then. I just spoil go again spend it to family and go when there. So not go see a man kia that at all. No go budget, no go percentage, to accord. So as God is blessing him, the amount is going up, but the same percentage gone. Man can no percentage. God go watch boom. So man can no percentage. Or then you go for another percentage. Man, we can just look next time man is offering at all. So yeah, I think it makes it easier. I don't know what you guys think. It doesn't make it easier when you have proper planning on how you are spending the money. One. Another side about the priority. Because black tax goes to different things. It goes to burials, it goes to medical bills, it goes to some people's feeding sometimes. That's the lowest. Then sometimes it goes to school fees. Sometimes also it goes to Wono. I don't care about the priority. Which one should be the priority? Which one should take the bulk of our money, of our fund?
Have you not heard of the one that they're using to marry?
Yeah. I care for that one came on them.
The imagination as to what people will ask for, you cannot put it into boxes. I promise you. Like just when you think you've heard it all, boom. You understand? And
so you're not coming and should be with black tax.
Yes, the reason is Onya, I kind of aligned with what Mary was trying to say. In a lot of black tax has made a lot of people extremely dependent, right? Because one, the reason you understand? You understand? Engagement. Then the girl ajumala juju gas why your people go ha say onye nwe nwanyị ajumala juju say ele mana be lo nwanyị wo. So which means naga alo nwanyị. Like I don't understand the audacity. You understand? I know them. However, for every single thing that is out there are always people that will abuse it. I recall when I was younger, a certain uncle or a certain relative, I can't recall which part of it, but I shall know he's in the villa. And I recall him telling my dad something like, umwaka dikwe go gas school. You understand? Daddy Magwaya say, so gini ka nge mena. I say, na daddy mchotari ega kwa mpam na run a bank. Mpam say, I don't understand. So na run a bank, ye mini na ego nini na bank okem. Yota. Ya say, na chotani onye chuku goziri oga gozi ndị ọzọ. The emotional black, as in the emotional blackmail is wild. Like I saw different version of it, but then in case I met who because that particular person say onye chukwu goziri ya gozie ndị ọzọ, the next day nwunye amụkwa nwa ọzọ.
Kita ka okwu apụtawago now.
Also, and then I was thinking as young as I was then that okay, I don't understand. The king when is Zochabile. Gamuhukwa ojo n'elu ndị kazara azụ. There's just a lot of dynamics to these things. However, what I would like to highlight is the fact that there's no end for takers. Takers don't have a limit. When they are done exhausting you, they will look for another channel. You understand? They will never run out of what to ask for. If they ask for school fees today, tomorrow, hagwagisi nwa area malaria, ninye hego malaria. Like akụkọ na-akọrọ ga na-agwa every month. Ijukwa say about enyere m gị last month. Just say ama akwa ama m mere ni ọ dị ka enyere m ezigbo ọgwụ nga m gara. Ihe m kwuru ha wụ 15,000 ahụ nyere m. Ijukwa ese ga mara say all those things that you've been giving. Ore. One of the experiences I had personally, one of those takers. Abatram no layer, very surprisingly. Me, I like village, so my own worker, nobody they even understand them. So I just enter village, pium. Batana one of those takers. Omwe. In who has wages your fair. I think azuna no hana that ofe, my brother. Even when I shit on you get some kind azuna wa. And all those fish we no get me. Oh, juchana itofe. Masi holo until hemegeba. Yes, maka no jingo na mabro no jingo ga niri now oga muamusu nwa bo ya amamo to shi tinye that in that day na mamo kata mo say chai the people know what they are doing. Office of the takers never closes. It is the responsibility of the giver to ensure that you don't finish the water in your cup. You ensure that your cup is always sufficient. So have a budget, because those people don't have a budget for things they don't plan for. They can go to the market, see things that they cannot afford, and think of the malaria that they're going to tell you to buy it. And I've seen that happen. Now, I'm not saying that they are not legit cases. I'm just saying that as a giver, you have to protect your source. Because let me tell you, I'm sorry to say this, but one of the most disrespectful people are those takers. When your money finishes or something happens to your source of income or more, my brother, you don't want to believe what the same set of people that will give to you. So it's a responsibility as a giver to protect yourself, protect your family, and protect your source, because those takers will never run out of examples or reasons why they should collect from you. So while you are giving, I agree, have a budget. Stick to your budget, and ensure that you have a schedule to it. Like what I used to do, what I do is I have a schedule. Like if I give you this month until lista hagarand or more, because I won't I have a whole other relative, and it's not just relatives that I give. Like some outsiders might have very valid issues, and sorry, I have them this month, and I'm sorry. When you are not on the schedule, I'm sorry, my budget has exhausted. And you find that when you have that peace, because it's better than having to tell them, okay, I will see what I can do. Hey, you tell the taker, I will see what I can do. They will finish they will finish your call credit as if you are owing them. So you have to absolutely put a mark on it. While we have a sense of responsibility as kind people that we are, and as Christians, I'm a Christian, you also have a responsibility to yourself to ensure that, it's protected, and then you are able to put yourself in a way that you don't, will I say, intentionally harm yourself, because you harm yourself, and it's very important that you do that. So that's what I have to say about this, Chuka.
Yeah, if in a make it sense. In those days, like from the early 70s, like I always refer to, a lot of people who were just coming out of secondary school. Most families, the first, second, or maybe the first, second, third, or first and second, especially moke. But if I the first set of people, And not all Igbo can find on then, except for those who went into the university. For them, who had the privilege of going to the university immediately because family, so they had to just get a job. All next thing is maybe you're gonna find a boy and umunne had like 5. Didn't get to put that to go just secondary school. Maybe 2 2 cause or 1 cause no until if you know secondary school stage. So if you know guy taking his time, put her through secondary school. After secondary school, I got you know, I think it was working at that time somehow. When you put way, but at some point, what is that? If it change, another level where was it? No, maybe in all because already once you finish secondary school, you have a job waiting for you in the 70s and even the early 80s, from what I learned. You know, so maybe economic situation in the country as it got worse, people got disillusioned. Famaro, they are left from their right. And like we always say, when there is a deluge of ignorance, you know, everybody, there's general ignorance about economy, about how to find your way, about how to build your own economy without getting into illegitimate sources of making money. Somehow, people are didn't catch because for game, you know, because I have seen, I mean, that's how things like house help came out. A lot of parents who couldn't take care of their kids. But what you're saying, something you said here is extremely important. I think is one of the biggest factors that affect this black tax culture, which is people having kids they cannot train. If I'm more like 7 kids or 6 kids, hey, one of the people who benefactors of black tax, I'm talking about. Casey Ojogu.
I should know one of the people who no, you're right.
all the agencies, all the transfer agencies, money transfer agencies. Everyone at came with the list charges.
No, you got didn't know up to date with rates. If you look at that, get the rates, what the rates? Because all continuous occurrence, regular. Can't my brother.
All the can name one now to join this conversation.
It's an unnecessary conversation.
If I didn't share the space, I can't join.
Okay, go ahead and share this space. Let everybody know we're having this conversation. You know, I'm thinking maybe I should tweak the topic a little bit. Kudo, maybe let me just put what's the alternative?
Another thing bụ ịma na onye nọ ebe mmadụ na-ete ya aka, ọwụrụ mmadụ niile nwekwa that vision. You know, it's okay, even though you want the financial capability, make that person is okay. That is, can the person be quite stable on his own? On any little thing on him, that kind of educative knowledge. Because one of my very senior cousins now, in fact, he's the only person with the advice. I call him. I will just call him, send him a message. He will tell me he's a good guardian. Some people know that kind of wisdom. You understand? Yeah. He will guide you, he will assist you with knowledge. Everything about money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so while some other people want that kind of thing, they are just all for themselves, or he spend the ego here about so I feel like that wisdom. You understand?
Yes.
He say okay, financial discipline. From there, may give what here because what I'm be this about now. those times I na-enye m those dollar. Mana kita tin emebigo m because mmadụ bata shi obodo ebo bata na ihe m naira transfer as m 20,000 naira 100,000 naira I will appreciate o, but somehow ọ ga na-eme m ka gasị na onye
Ị
enye m
ga-apempe.
ife because
I want to commend your honesty. I mean, it's actually great that you're being vulnerable on this space.
honestly,
Thank you very much.
ọ na-agaghị adị na onye enye m ife I will appreciate it because I remember this my auntie mụ na dị na mma o very cool before ya agakwa obodo ebo for my senior cousin. Hey, ya bịa nye m 10,000 naira. Mbịa na-afụ dị 10,000 naira ka gasị na nke a ogene. Nke a mkparị ka ogene. Just before you know, I started gifting the money out. You get? So I now understood that it's not like that too. Because here I book money, here I gift. Okay, kita mo that's why I'm 10,000 naira on my own like this now. Here I will here, you know. So I shouldn't look at it like that. Do you understand?
And
Yes.
So
I just want to chime in
for
too.
people,
I want to say something.
yeah, go ahead.
Oftentimes, in a narrow madaka, or if you want to support someone in one or two ways, obligatory financially, what the person often looks at will care the monetary value of ihe. For example, Otua IK in now, in your mother 10,000 or 20,000. To them, you're giving them 10,000 or 20,000. You might not make any. I might not know horn. On one year, non a pack. So sorry, I was saying. So in a year of Madaka, about 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever it is, it seems very small to that person. Or we can want any big impact or get met to the person's life and all. And the person may or may not appreciate it. In most cases, may not even appreciate it because it's very small. But what that person doesn't realize, when in here 10,000, there's also other 9 people in here 10,000. I mean, here 100,000 has come out of your pocket. You know that? But to them, they don't see it that way. So it sometimes it just takes some reflection in and not things from someone's perspective. There's so many other people, that needs to be helped in one or two ways,
Ọ bụrụ sọ ị ka a na-enye.
So in there, from that perspective, then a man, maybe it may go put that from this person's hands because on when yours on and things like that. So it's just something I wanted to chime in. So
Yeah.
Case you just entitlements I've been talking about. That's what this black tax does. I mean, that's my own lived experience.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, I had a very rich uncle. The guy was mad rich, very wealthy, in fact. And I was getting to invest. I was thinking, I'm going to invest. Okay, uncle's around. When I go, he will give me money. And I did go. I was in town. I went to visit him. I remember, I never forget how much he gave me. He gave me 400 naira, 20 naira in 20 places. And you know what had also happened? That I was supposed to go like 2 days. He said, "Oh, don't go 2 days. Come back." And then, of course, my friends I was thinking, "How your uncle give you money?" I already had like sense of the thousands I was going to collect. Can't you plan journal school? I'm also. But what he gave me the money, of course, I said thank you. But what that then did to me was I said to myself, I would never come back to this my uncle for anything. I know it looked like a sense of entitlement, but in my head I was thinking, 1, you made me not travel when I was supposed to travel. 2, you're giving me money, don't even pay my transport. She doesn't pay my transport from the city where I was seeing you back to where I was going. In retrospect, he did me a world of good by giving me that 400. I'm very thankful to him because then I just focus my life on whatever your parents can give you and whatever you can earn in school. That's the money you have. If anybody gives you, fantastic, but please, there's nobody giving you money. So I think that this excessive giving, this it creates, even though you mean well, even though you understand they're suffering, it creates a sense of entitlement and dependency that even when you say to them, I don't have, like this is a good time, they keep calling and calling and calling and calling. And you're wondering, here, I just said I don't have. Do they really think that I don't have, that I have and I don't want to give them? But again, because you are Oga giver, you're very responsible. You've gotten used to solving the world's problem. Like my friend would say, you have a messiah complex. And givers have a savior complex. You will go and borrow money sometimes to solve a problem. And they don't know you borrowed money, don't know you are going to have to pay back the money. So for me, looking backwards, I will do black tax differently. And for a number of years now, I've been doing it very differently. I think that whole
what's the different way you're doing it now?
What would I do differently? What would I do differently? So if I'm paying school fees, right? I will say no, like, so I've been saying to my mom, I need someone to live with me. I intend to train you. That's the plan. You're going to go to university. But I make it very clear to you when you're in my house that this university you're going to, that I'm going to send you to, it is this housework you're doing for me. That is your payment. Of course, it's not commensurate, I know. That is the payment. I want you to know. So I want you to take that housework seriously. And not think that, this woman, because when I'm going to work, whatever they give me in that office, I used to collect it like that. And plus the yes sir and yes ma'am be smiling. So not to think that because it is to actually help our people see that work is beneficial and work is important. And some of these things we're saying, people are lazy. I lived in my hometown for a few years before during my primary school years. So I went from being proper Ajibota to Nayalago village, and I didn't know how to Bananka. I don't know what that means. Like, who goes to Banka? Of course, I went to Bananka eventually. And I now realized that that wasn't my reality, yes. But these are things you could do to earn money. So all of this, then I'm sorry to say, many of these takers are incredibly lazy. Cannot do 1/4 of what you do to earn money. And they think everything is beneath them. So I'm not, I guess I'm not as sort of, I ask harder questions now. Or I say to you, I'm paying school fees. I say to you, I'm going to pay this percentage of a child's school fees. You make up the rest. Better make up the rest. Because now when you that's school. Yeah, but next time because I'm going to school, so I'm not paying the balance. Okay, just go bye, peace out. I'm no longer very because it just never ends, and they are not particularly thankful. In fact, I've had all sorts of interesting things about how you made your money. And and they don't have no clue what percentage of your income you're spending on just making sure they're okay. They have no clue. So no, I do things differently now. I insist that you work. So unless it's like somebody I don't know at all, in which case I know that I'm not creating an entitlement. So if you get it, you get it, because there's even a wall between me and you. I send the money to somebody who then sends it to you, so you can never contact me.
Okay.
Can never call me. So whatever I said doing for you is all you're getting. If it's school fees, that's all you're getting.
Okay.
Whatever it is, you're not going to come back with plus school fees or plus something. Yes.
Let's bring some balance to this conversation. Because I think that this whole thing we're talking about, this issue, it has a lot to do with orientation. It has a lot to do with orientation and enlightenment. And when I'm talking with Uche, a number of first son, Uche Okoye, sometimes I always tell him this. I know we online sometimes. And we think privilege now. You're speaking from a place of privilege. And see, what do you mean? If you just point it out to me, I will like, hey, Zook, it's true, because while we're having this conversation, I started asking myself, at what point did I realize? At what point did I come to that recognition of the fact that ego madu, because I know that for a long time now, I've always had that. I've had that mentality that nobody owes me money. Also, but the only thing is that or give me business. You will be shocked at how I will behave. Adeji ego mebu samebu. But nke na aboro nkem, the one that is not mine, I don't have. Aboro nkem, you don't owe me. Like inyem 1K. 1K is almost nothing. Inyem 1K now. Maybe na yolo ego. Inyem 1K now. I'm asking thank you because I'm more yolo ego. I can't tell you what to give me. So that mentality was something that I have reinforced over the years. But the truth is that there's a foundation that helped me to build that. And Oboro onye obuna with that foundation. So that tells me that I'm privileged to be able to be raised in the environment where I met the people who influenced me in the manner that I was able to inculcate all that ideologies and mentality, to be able to build on that and become the kind of person and see life the way I see life now when it comes to this. With that. So I call it privilege. So when I look at this thing, I try to imagine if these people knew what I knew, if this person knew what I know, if this person understood what I understood, if this person could see themselves the way I see myself, would this person be thinking like this? Because I believe in solving problems from the roots, not just from the symptoms. So get able the roots. How can we look at this thing from the root and see whether there's something we can do to reduce it, than just slapping the baby. Casey, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. By all sense, you're right. More I'm not the same sentiment. So I feel like a lot of times outcomes oftentimes is determined by mentality. What perspective matters. Things. It's what drives, what you decide to do about certain situations. But at the end of the day, when we're not position again, Nanya, and oftentimes it's hard to picture yourself in that situation because it's not out there. You don't know the reality of it. You may never know the reality. When certain things you can't understand. You can empathize and say, I understand, but all the not different. There are people who are born in certain situations that, they just need help. Or no matter how much, they try to make things work out for themselves, they just need extra support. And broadly speaking, though, my own opinion, I feel like the black tax culture is a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, all it is, right? We're providing support to each other. When certain cultures, it's not like that. Either because they don't have the economic difficulties in one way, or they don't have as much need in one way as the people. But their own lifestyle is different. In the West, most places, even in Canada here, they don't care. Like parents don't even feel obliged to send their children to school. Children don't feel obliged to take care of their parents when they're older. Like nothing like that exists. I work in the financial industry. We have about RESP, Registered Educational Savings Plan. So the government sets up something like this, and then in any contribution, any amount each year, government matches that by 20%. So government gets in go so that you can save for your child's education. Parents, this is free money the government is giving. Parents don't even want to put in their own so that the government will give that extra money. Asimba. You understand? So they don't feel obliged to support the kids. And oftentimes you talk to some of the older folks. Most of the people I work with are people who are planning for retirement or already retired. And when we talk about their finances, when we sit down, one thing they worry about is as they get older and weaker and health becomes a concern, they have to move to an old retirement facility. And they start planning based on their money, how they can afford it. Or they you are now moving with my daughter, or moving. It doesn't exist. So if we're not culturally, we're just different. I like our system. I like it because I feel like in as much as the support is there, but it's also a way to bring family together, right? It's also a way to make sure that everyone is, bringing in their own input, not support in one or two ways. There might be a sense of entitlement to it, which is oftentimes a problem. But other than that, I just feel that is a much better way to help people, especially within a unit. I'll go within a smaller family. People even do it to extended families. You understand? So, and Mary is right. it's not oftentimes financial. You have to find something much more tangible. Oboro no isim kanyegego. I'd rather, create something for you, something that will create cash flow, that will create value. It's set your business. Rather do it that way as opposed to inyegego, because you might not really be financially prudent. I might not know the best way to handle that money, and that money is lost and squandered. But if we can put it into something tangible, then you have, or is it knocking, a sense of responsibility to take care of something and make something out of something that's been given to you, right? So, but yeah, at the end of the day, it takes still all that mentality, because regardless, the person each or in marry something for, they have to want it more for themselves than you. So
Yes.
that's how I feel.
So do you think that as someone,
Sugar.
as I just want to ask a question. Do you guys think that um, Imana, one of the reasons why you are able to earn money the way you earn money is because you are empowered, not just empowered in terms of position in the office where you work
Yeah,
or in your business, but empowered mentally to be able to
yeah.
see things the way you see things, to be able to um, um, build certain skill sets that allow you to deliver certain services that in turn bring you money or earn you money. That is empowerment. So, do
Mhm.
you think that um, if we introduce some kind of mentorship culture to this, you know, that will make a greater impact? For instance, I pick a young guy, a young kid in the family, it's not gonna but I get one agreement, no gonna accountable to me. As in,
Mhm.
get me invest not just money, but some level of attention towards that child's development. Okay, they're accountable to me. My parents are deeply involved. If you miss on this one, this is what is going to happen. If you miss on that one, this is what is going to happen. Like carrot and stick, not necessarily being too harsh, but spend time. The little time you can spend some time to not just give him money or give him direction, but bring some of that your ideology, some of that your mentality. Try and see how you can transfer it to this child or to this young person, because like I said, it's orientation, is an orientation issue. Do
Yeah,
you think that will help?
yeah. 100%. A body, like 100%. There has to be a level of accountability for things like this to work. Always somebody I follow really well. Anybody know investment world with me, I read Dalio, one of the most
Yeah,
prominent
yeah,
modern day economists, like
yes.
macroeconomists. The guy is brilliant. He wrote a book called Principles, and he opened the book. Because regardless of who you are, regardless of where you're born, in Hobana, that and when certain principles that are laid down, that if you actually follow them and make sure you do these principles day by day, that you'll be successful. And there's so many other books that talks about success and mindset and things, actions you need to take and things you need to do. I personally I believe in those things. I believe in that. And the reason I believe in it is that when I look at really highly successful people, and we're certain core characters in all of them. Like they have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them, they have it. Whether it's their resilience and just wanting to create, like they have those setting core. Like some of them tell you they wake up very early in the morning. Like most of them, they don't 6, 5, they're up in the morning. So there are certain habits you need to have that would drive
Yes.
success. That's not a question. And then the second thing, Bo, um you can't know it all. So by default it makes sense to seek knowledge, and to seek that knowledge oftentimes it has to be from someone more successful than you, someone who you admire, someone who you aspire to be like. And or a better mentorship will be so it comes into play because you need to sit down with people. Oftentimes those people we create connections for you, those will give you good advice, those are the normal, in every step each or you take in life. Seek counseling, seek advice from people who you respect their decision making, because people will oftentimes point things out and put things in perspective and directions in I think you've never thought of before, and all yeah, but the importance of things like this. So I personally, I believe in mentorship. Mentorship. It doesn't really have to be an older person. It has to be someone that has something that you admire, and you think
Yeah.
that that person can, you know, instill something positive into your own life. There has to be something valuable that person wiki tier in your
Ca-
life. So
Can
that's the way I
mentorship
look at it.
can mentorship can mentorship work in the family circle, considering the level of
Yes,
familiarity?
yes, yes, it works.
Um,
Yeah,
Yes, it
I
works. In terms
suppose it
of
could.
environment, they may influence a lot of things, but yes, it works.
yeah, yeah. I think it works though, and the reason why I think it works, Buna, even from a very young age, why Neto, you already like by default your parents are your mentors. They provide guidance in helping them at your first stage of learning. You learn directly from your parents. You know the things they do. Kids are very observant and they pay close attention to some of those things, so they learn so much. So even from a very young age, that mentorship, I did go there. And then as the children begin to grow and when there external forces and external influences, the other kids they hang out with, the schools they go to, certain other things they do, those external influences that help that nurturing process can come into play. But now the foundation of it, you've created something that can never be taken away from them. So the mentorship from a parental standpoint, it's there, it's clear. Like the parents have to be the first mentors, and then depending on the age gap between the
What
children
if
as
the
they begin to
what if the parents in Eku now are also in this, let me call it shit, in this shitty orientation, and actually dragging them out of the pit of poverty and poverty mindset? So I'm
yes.
asking, for relatives, let's say uncle, auntie,
Mm,
cousin, do you think mentorship can practically apply in that situation?
yes.
Um,
Yeah, go
oh,
ahead, Mary.
Casey, if I may.
Yeah.
So, Chuka, I think that what is missing is the ability to reflect. So, I think that maybe a starting point may not necessarily be mentorship, but it may be the ability to think, to reflect.
On whose side?
I chose I chose to be educated. Like I mean, of course, my parents sent me to school, but I chose to focus on education because I had looked around in my kindred and they were largely not doing well, quote and unquote, for that time. And the common denominator that I could see was that all of them did not go to school. Haga standard six, boy, or mwakoro. That was what I saw.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, so the common denominator here, Manandi Eja school. So school and go. That was, and the only person who sort of was doing relatively well. I mean, I had a Don Tata uncle that was very rich. That was him. But I had a much younger uncle, got school, my God. So I thought, okay. But I wouldn't have connected those dots if I wasn't thinking, if I wasn't just reviewing my environment, if I was just caught up in the time. And part of what I see, and part of what the problem is that people aren't thinking. They aren't just sort of stopping to pause and think, what is the problem? What is the gap I have? Or what is the issue? If you're not thinking, no amount of mentorship is going to do any miracle, because the mentor isn't going to spoon feed you. So I think that is it. The second thing is also to rethink the way we view work.
Mm.
There is nothing wrong with work, and I had that same problem, to be honest. So before I started secondary school, I was selling stuff. I was selling my biscuits, all of that. No, before I started university, I was selling biscuits. Not hawking. I was very clear I wasn't going to hawk, but around my neighborhood. But I just found it very weird that when I entered university, I just thought it was beneath me. Somebody that sold biscuits and gari and all of that to make money. I thought it was beneath me when I entered university to be selling pure water, to be selling sauce.
University.
I thought it was beneath me. It was. I look back at it, you were very stupid. Like you didn't have sense. Oh yeah, I volunteered in school, so I did some other kind of work and earned money. But there was nothing wrong, to be honest, in selling stuff. But it was just that whole warped idea of work that is beneath me. That why should I be doing this? And I see it play out in people who you can see they're struggling, and you're saying, okay, you don't really have a skill set. Do you want to do this? So do you want to sort of manage this shop? Do you want to go and learn how to drive so you can be a driver? And they're thinking this is beneath me. And what they're asking for is for you to give them millions.
What do you think is the root cause of that?
Their whole so that's what the two things. I think we need to sort of re-emphasize the need to just sort of pause and reflect.
What do you think is what
you can even figure out
what is causing this inability to see things that way?
What do I think is causing it?
I mean, the root cause of this issue, because in here in Okuna, all the very real.
You know, we're very superstitious.
I agree.
We're very or them na block munda dem off ma. And they anu ha obi ojofa. And actually nyere maka. So we're superstitious and we have a tendency to self-pity. And self-pity, and it's something even I have seen in real time, is the worst thing that can happen to anybody. Like, it sort of saps you of the ability to just even do anything for yourself. So if we begin to sort of lose the superstition a bit and recognize that, one, like you said, nobody owes you. That's the first thing that needs to happen. Two, to think that, look, there is nothing I cannot achieve if I put my mind to it. If I put my mind to it, I can achieve this. I can do it. I think that those two things are important. And I think it was talk about
your audio has faded. Hello, Mary?
Oh, I'm not sure.
It's fine now. It's back.
Can you hear me?
It's back now, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so I'm saying, I think that we need to sort of tone down on the superstitiousness and all that rubbish. I think we need to tone it down, and in many ways is also why we're seeing this whole rubbish we're seeing in the name of religion. No. I'm a very proud of the church. I love God.
Yeah.
But I also know that faith and reason are compatible.
Yep.
You don't outsource your reason because you have faith. It's not possible. So it is this whole unwillingness to apply yourself. And we need to, and that is also in a function of being willing to work. We need to reintroduce that.
Dignity
just sort
of labor.
Pause, have a time when that's very important. That every work is honest work. Every work, as long as it's not stealing, it's not something that is immoral. It is honest work in and of itself. And it is in that place of work that your blessings will come. It is not when you're spending 1 million years on mountain of fire. I don't know what nonsense. So we need to sort of, if we're going to solve this entitlement issues, this whole excesses, and this whole people just, always looking for who will help them, we need to reintroduce the ability to just sort of sit down and reflect. I'll go to 20 minutes. Then secondly, to also see that work is good in and of itself and to be creative about it. It would have been, so if somebody says to me, oh, Auntie Name, let's say if we go 20 naira for it, or 100 naira, or for 50 naira, and maybe or for 300 naira. And I know that they have saved that money from Hagaga. They went to the farm to pick up, and I did it when I was in the village for some time, to pick up the palm fruits that fell. You can see this person is a go-getter. Mm-hmm. You can see this person actually has what she needs to build on. You don't mind giving them. I also know they will not take for granted what you've given. But it's the ones waiting for you to give everything that is a problem. So self-reflection and the fact that it is okay to work. There's nothing wrong with working. If you check all of the people that are takers, many times, almost everything you ask them to do is too much for them. Too much.
What you're saying is true. If I could struck something in my head. 2 examples. Ofubu, my friend, he's in America now. But at the time this happened, he was broke. And where go at all? In fact, only ego jabadimota from their house to Ebanya Abambo. On a yota self sometimes. But he had that thing you were talking about, the ability to reflect and figure out something that he could do, So This was in Enugu. Trade fair was coming. The international trade fair was coming. But coincidentally, that was when Pope John Paul II of where died. This guy is not Catholic, but something came to his mind. I said, "Oh, we want bro. How far now? See, I'm now. Can I today? I said, "No, we want to now again. Now, say I'm gonna be here. So now we business idea. We did this stupid us on the now. Say I'm gonna be fair. I said, okay, my Pope don't merge. You know, say Pope don't merge. See, I is open now. I said, not going to haggle about this Pope. See, I hear you now. I said, merchandise and see how where. What's the plan? I said, now we got the mom already. See, I have been here 50. I'm 50K or 15K. I said, give this particular amount of money and give me. I'm asking how many weeks or Gualiania. I will not return this money. Any don't again. Yes, when I withdraw that money, the guy Hokube. That's ever they will ask it for or request it for. They hold me accountable. That's what he meant. The body amen. Do you know what this guy did? He went and bought handkerchiefs, white handkerchiefs. Went to printer and printed in only blue color the picture of Pope John Paul II, and just wrote some things, blessed memory, guinea, nice things, and then rest in perfect peace, and can. That's it. In blue color on the handkerchief. Package, yeah. But on a trade fair. Chabazio Moasa. Yeah, fine, I guess we'll let it this thing. If I can do get on a read or but on a trade fair on a leather handkerchief, he made money. He made enough money to pay his mom back. And had some real change. That was maybe his first business. I don't know whether he did something before then, but that was the one. Anytime I remember that thing, I was like, see, okay, my if I made that time about the profits. It was about something that was supposed to happen to your mind because his mentality changed from that day, from that period, And one another guy, going in Carbona on school, Papia Mungo, Amia and busy the family. Mami and one Korea. So I'm married for gay man. No, we came up for the school on a gay suit. Or the engineering on a go. Brilliant kid. So my sister go about him. I go, I not man kata. See, I know when him and this guy get done. Come on me for my skills. Yeah. So meet here. Say, okay, have your skills. I said, no, not keyboard in a church. I say, okay, that's good enough. I say, do you really play very well? I say, yes. I say, do you know how to teach what you can do? I say, yes. See, you are good looking, you look like a responsible person. Why don't you just take a banner, a small banner, cloth fabric banner, and just write for keyboard lessons for your kids. Call Onyeka, and just write your name and go and mapa there na private school there around a baby. Kai fugo the mom we game. Obuna gige jime, obuna nwere gige jime banner, onwe nke nwe nye gige itinye. Guess what? He did that. Put it out there. And it wasn't an original idea. It was something that my own friend was doing. Got through IMT. So I brought it helpful. He did it, and his mom's cousin driving saw that and called the number. Say, oh, go on a Mefa. Come, let me give you money to make a better banner. Long story short, this guy started teaching kids, even kids with disability. And started making enough money to pay all his school bills and whatever that he needed and even support the mom until eventually he finished school and got into business, But I see these people as outliers. I see these people as people that had something like an innate ability to figure things out, or when they were that talent, Onyenkozo had the ability to at least go and look for somebody that can advise him. So even now, Jobo, how do we create that awareness? How do we drive that awareness in people, the ability to reflect or to seek help humbly from the direction, because because we are all privileged people. That's why we're in this conversation. So when they yet that we would like to hear you talk. If you would like to request the mic, I'm very few, but this is a recorded space, so it's going to stay on social media, on Twitter for a very long time. and we're also going to do a post-production. So people are going to listen to this eventually. So feel free to join us. Forget about the number. Feel free to join us in the conversation. Give us your take. Casey, Kefi Philo, I gave me about that foundation, that orientation. We've heard from Mary. Let's hear your own take.
Yeah. I think Ununable Ipo made a lot of sense. You spoke very well, and the message is very clear. Like, to me, in him believe, and I hold this belief very strongly. But a lot of times there are certain factors that might be able to hinder you, but it doesn't really determine your future. I believe that your destiny is in your own hands. On your gonna have the opportunity to, make certain life changes that will bring about change up and a hatch on their life. And again, back to talking about Redalio, some of the principles listed there are things that I hold strongly, because it's in non, you know what? I want to be able to help people see things differently. There are people who don't have the opportunity or the privilege in one way because we're privileged. Then how can we help them, see things differently and really understand how to make changes to better their lives? The truth, but now, on your nature in Iraq, first of all, the person needy or the person has to want the same thing for themselves. I believe in that strongly. That's number one. Because if you go seeking, then there's an opportunity for you to find. If you take two people, for example, what the first person A, what the second person B, it's here in a two separate environment. Person A, it's here in an environment very motivational. They don't have business, they're planning the way forward, just trying to help and support each other. Here the person B in a environment, young maybe folks, they don't really care much about the future. They hang out in the morning, just drink and smoke. It's very evident who's gonna have a better direction, right? So it goes to say that oftentimes the environment you choose to put yourself in, not the environment you find yourself in, or two different things. The environment you choose to put yourself in helps the time. In our class, for example, there were sections in a class, primary school, secondary school. And when they are very well. When they had a class at all. When they so wine when they they're different. You observe where you choose to the environment you choose to place yourself there determines how successful you become academically. Nkabro is just garbage in, garbage out. As easy as that. The same principle applies on a broader spectrum in life. It usually, oftentimes more, you have to assess your friends. I always say this to my friends: know your friends. This person, if not money, I trust this guy. But you see, woman, I know if you trust this guy. It's your advice. Money get it's your no go on this supportive. So you have to know your friends, know their strengths, know the values they can contribute and help. And sometimes you assess your friendships too. You're my friend for like, you assess your friend. Here. Why is it that every time I'm with you, I find myself in trouble? Police and bail. I have to push back, man. So you have to make a conscious decision yourself. You have to make a conscious decision to put yourself in those type of environments that will yield better outcomes. So the quicker and the earlier we begin to do that, it takes time, but then down the road, you're going to see significant changes because those people will influence you. If there are people who are very foresighted, they think of, business plans. What can I do to make money? Just like the example that you brought out. Then one of two recommendations we can put out from those people. Say, oh, now you're good at this. So have you thought about doing this or that or this and that? So you have to reevaluate your circle from time to time. Matter no, how can I find myself in valuable and influential people within my circle who can be able to help me in that goal or that direction that I want to go? For me, I feel no conscious decision on your need to make it, or assessment on your need to make it, but it just takes that willingness to do that. It's so easy not to do anything. No, relax. You have to press phone from morning to night. It's the easiest thing, not the easy. We like comfort. Nobody wants to be stressed. But to be able to push yourself further, you need to create some level of discomfort. Whether if you're not willing to do that, then I don't think you have that outcome each other. Yeah, that's what I think.
Oh, for somebody that I find fascinating, Tupac Katari wrote on the comment section, as rules when asking for money. You work less than me. Clearly, you don't work hard enough. You work more than me. Clearly, you lack discipline in spending and will waste my money. You win a work when you.
Bam, bam, easy, and I believe that.
Well, so are we going to call this? Should we move this label from black tax to black empowerment and follow it with that mindset? Can I get me hand? Because how can that word black tax in the first place?
But at the end of the day, all tax too. Priscilla, I don't know. I think you wanted to say something, but I'll just briefly say at the end of the day, it's still a tax because in Nanya, the thing, Buna, it still limits. Like for example, you can use anybody now overseas in San Diego to Nigeria as an example. It feels like this is a portion of their themselves that they have to sacrifice to make life better for other people, right?
Yes.
So it creates that financial limitation, right? Which, because it's a limitation, might pull you back ahead of your peers. Thinking a handle here. My people who come from a very well-to-do family, they're financially well off, they need any support. As a matter of fact, their father even still sends them money. I can't compete with my counterparts in China. The Chinese here, their parents send them millions of dollars and they buy real estate all around Vancouver and everywhere. They buy real estate as a form of money laundering or whatever the case may be. But the kids have no university. Some of them they have their own high rises and big apartments. You can't compete at that level because the story is not the same.
Yeah.
Black class, they don't even know what it is. And again, all that economic situation now brought their own reality. They don't understand it. More in my own case, I have to send money back home. The days of sending money to me, those days are long gone. Now I have to send money back home. But I also understand it because it's what you have to do. Or bro, no, it's the way the system is designed because of the harsh realities of where we come from. If economic times are better, if things are financially better back home, maybe you don't even need to. And this might be the case for some families. Someone they know in Nigeria, they don't even need to. Their parents, they don't need anything from them. So it's just you have to face your reality. Now, what can I do based on my own situation to create a difference? And the thing is, you have to trust the truth. When not something this significant, you have to realize that you have nothing to fear and nothing to lose from the truth. Face your truth. Let me cover it up. Let me make sure. Face your truth. Be honest to yourself. You can choose to tell lies to anybody, but you don't tell lies to yourself. Be honest to yourself. Know your reality. Face it and just work hard. That's the way. That's what I feel.
So the fact that it denies you or deprives you of the speed at which you're supposed to be moving because you are allocating certain amount or certain percentage of your earning to your people at home, that makes it a tax on what you're saying.
Yes, but make it an investment, dude.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So to the investor or to the giver, it is tax. But to the people that are the recipients, it could be empowerment. That means why I asked that question is because maybe I'm wondering if it's possible for us to embrace a mentality that is different, which is I can only invest. I'm only investing. I'm not on in a dash in the madon kanke go bereberega. I want to invest, and you have to prove to me that you are a worthy investment ground. If you are not worthy, I won't give you. So you have to prove to me that I can trust you to be faithful with the little I'm going to give you now, and then see what you can build from that. I don't know if this is something that we can embrace as a society, or just to fool you, as a society, turn this thing out, because on the car, when we hear miracle, you some of us have Messiah complex, and then the people we're giving have the Savior complex, right? So
and abuse it.
Is it possible some kind of emotional sense of worth and superiority that we derive from this that stops us from thinking about it the other way? Because personally, about entitlement, personally,
Okay. Enwere m chọka ịghọta lekwe ọ dị ka now ịbata n'ọfịs, for example, ịbata n'ọfịs now ifu onye bụ colleague, your lower colleague, ịbata today ka onye na-aga n'ọfịs ifuru onye gateman gị just nye gateman 100 naira every time inye 100 naira, every time inye 100 naira, the day ị ga-enye that 100 naira ọ ga-ewe iwe, ọ ga-eburu gị n'obi. Because no, yes, nah, yes, just ordinary gateman, no. I'm telling you the truth. You feel offended. Yes, because by right, because our mind, the mindset, that thing, imego ya is standard, imego ya is normal. The one day did not give him, we another day did not give him, one day we say we not feel bad. Hi, what thing I do? Can I this man or the pussy in me? Hey, you will now be feeling offended.
Yes.
That is not very free. So
there's something I wanted to say.
Which in a number in other environments, here I will just tips. Yeah. If you comes, you take. If it doesn't come,
Speaking of
in society like this.
Speaking of tips, it differs with country. You get a place like America, jail in a restaurant. In your heart tips, I go quite well.
Oh, okay.
Culture.
Okay, put that now over time. Over time, wala part of them. So you want to go there,
according to their culture.
How you so so this is what I'm trying to say.
There's something that eluded me, and I just thought of it now. Earlier when I talked about the cultural difference, Asian and the West, why the black tax doesn't exist. The one key thing I didn't even point out, but the social structure, that's actually a very, very big determinant. That's a very, very big determinant, because my wife here, she works for the government, and part of our job will to make sure that social assistance gets to the people that need them, whether the elderly, the seniors, the sick, the disabled, the children, even those who are off work for a period of time. They provide you social assistance. So you can't be asking me for something. Every government in your application. Don't ask me for anything. The government already provides it.
Which is coming from my tax.
Exactly, right? So all the different from that concept, and that's exactly why it doesn't exist. That's exactly. Oftentimes you still see people who need help. Obviously, we are GoFundMe, the very, very prominent here. People still need help. Either because they find themselves in certain health situations and they need extra financial support or whatever the case may be. But that being said, generally, nyeromaka, government get nyerogaka. We don't have that, so we mostly rely on family.
That explanation. I feel obekwa na nka anyị na buy, kunye kwuru okporo ya empowerment na ka happy ikpo ya tax. Now I feel we need to see a way of that is the betterment of the person, not just only financially. Knowledge can be in a lot of ways. Maybe to be better, what you do that makes you better. It cannot cover more than money, earning, and so on. Better your life. There are some kind of contributions, knowledge. Those things go far. Can bring money. You get then in care only need go capital, because you want to turn maybe business capital money. In care abuzi go. I want to expose something. This my cousin brother Monaya Kuru. Here a personal something. Here we care abuzi no we go. And that person aka with ego. my family nwekwa many people nọ n'obodo Igbo. Ihe ahụ ihe mụ na ya na-conversate o. Ọ sị m that there was somebody that died. The thing na-enwe ihe ọbụla. This guy has been struggling. The thing everybody, I was upset. The thing na-enwe ihe ọbụla. So unfortunate, me na ya bịa na conversate or some he's not going to be in that WhatsApp group. Not already he onye ma pause me, I'm not even in the group because then my phone and WhatsApp were issue. So I didn't join. So in our conversation, muna ya some on Facebook, ya some na lekwe nobody was able to send $1 to this guy. Bona bambo no nwe ya all moto mmadụ dashiri nwunye ya si ya na ọ bịa jizi ya na-emezi transport ya na-agba mbọ throughout Christmas na-aga left and right wom ọra ahụla nwa accident na Lokoja fire Abuja. Yeah, we struggling that kita na emego mepe group tinye mmadụ niile na the group a na-achọrọ contribute ego na many of them nọ n'obodo Igbo even though na ha choose na every month na ha ga na contribute $100 in the year. Ha chọọ one family ha ga-eji enye aka dying or this mad easy or the mad that is or this easy and comfortable. That in a aka with one person, one family that is a maybe something that the industrials they will be okay for life itself. Except the family might be careless and useless. Now before you know, in a short while, you go many people maybe you can contribute self, they carry that $100, but start small. Do you know? So when they get financial knowledge, that is give education. This stable, be empowered. Then when they gabu okay on a mobile business capital now when experience in with capital or quarter more from my bam. So this empowerment, this kind of thing is go a long way. Amami water.
Okay.
So I am that temporary, that permanent one. Again, the person we seeing here this person could email what so that is bad. Before you'll be envious and thoughtful to do nonsense. Now you know question.
Thank you, Ike. Because I want to ask you because but to not the volume of movie and I want to beg you, or not I beg, but every no, there is some background sound. I think it's a movie or something. What I tell you, when we can know when you are talking, but that was so much for your input. Mary.
Yeah, so I was going to say that, I think that we need to re-embrace the culture of reading. When I think about sort of what is the one thing that, that is different from sort of what I do and what the people around me do, is that I love to read. I absolutely just enjoy reading. I haven't done love reading since my adult years as much, but I love to read. And that reading, sort of expanded my worldview and my knowledge base, and I can think deeper. People are in many ways stuck in this whole superstitious nonsense because they're not thinking, and they're not thinking also because they're not reading. It would be great if our communities have libraries.
It's the environment. It's the environment. All the countries, the environment.
It'd be fantastic if our communities have a place where, I don't know, maybe a cultural center where there is some sort of knowledge, some sort of knowledge sharing happening. I hear you about privilege, and I think that I can recognize that there was privilege because I had a dad who introduced me to reading and to watching news and summarizing it for him. I can't forget that. Those were my earliest memories. So it changed the trajectory of my life. I agree. But we need to go back to reading. We need to go back to just saying, because right now everybody's on their smartphones and none of their smartphones doing anything useful. Even before smartphones, they were just wasting time gossiping. And to just help expand, if you can dream beyond your reality, then that reality is achievable. If you can't see beyond where you are, if you think, oh, this is it, woe is me and nothing else, I think that one thing we can do to change the narrative is to introduce a culture of studying and reading, actually, and maybe have cultural centers where some level of knowledge sharing is happening that is accessible to those in villages, because more often than not, they're the ones calling for help. And even for those who are sort of even not in the villages, in semi-urban areas, so that their minds grow. I think about gifted hands, and I'm just remembering his own experience, and I see that what set him apart, he and his brother, apart from other black kids in their time,
That's
was their
Ben
mom
Carson,
was
right?
exactly their mom was focused on study
Education.
and cultural knowledge, which is how he learned how to appreciate what's that funny music that's orchestra and all of those things that his peers didn't know. So we need to do that. It is when your mind is broadened, when you can see beyond, your reality, that you can do more. So if we're doing investments, I think that the first investment should be in a reintroduction of a reading culture. If you can read, if you can acquire the discipline to study, you can do anything, really. That's my own experience.
I agree with you 100%. This is actually what I mean. I don't go at this space, this conversation. Sometimes somebody will come up and say it in a different way. There's a particular guy that said it one day. He said that from the family I come from, we were not rich, but we understood that what separates you, what will take you, uproot you from poverty to a level of comfort, is education, knowledge. And my family invested so much into knowledge. And that is why all of us are doing well now. That's what he said. And that was so impressive. I remember this lady that came here last week, 2 weeks ago, Equitosi, okay, that came to talk about developing IT support skills. She mentioned the same thing. My dad died. My family was thrown into poverty, literally. And I was the first. I'm the first. So I had to develop myself. I had to build myself. I say right now I have more than 100 certificates. Like, she felt this is the only way I can drag myself out of this poverty. Just keep learning and training and reading and learning and training. And right now she's a high earner, very high earner. I think it's a no-brainer. One area that I have also recognized growing up, in my adult life, that I don't know if enough people have understood life that way, is that I am always looking for a way to give back to those who are trying to help me. Like, whether you're giving me mentorship, whether you're giving me, God placed them in my life to just guide me at certain point in my life. God placed them there to guide me, and then when they see what I'm doing and I'm talking with them and they're like, okay, this is what I can do for you. Okay, when those people are in my life doing what they're doing, subconsciously and sometimes consciously, I'm looking for a way to give back. I'm looking for a way to do something. Sometimes I can't give them money, so I give them back in service. I give them back by making myself available for something they need. I position myself in a way that I can be of use to them, just to give back, so that they feel like there is reciprocity in this relationship. And when you do that, you reduce their burden, you reduce their stress, and they begin to see you less as a burden. They see you more as an asset, as somebody that is important to me, even though I'm giving this person advice or I'm giving this person money. Only are important, I think it's something that our people need to learn more. Just the same way the boy it's not about his about pleasing, just finding a way to just appreciate what the person is doing in your life by giving back. It makes a whole lot of difference. From the relationships I have seen it. It makes a lot, and it has become a natural thing for me now. I just thought to drop that. Priscilla, are you able to speak? Or are you still? I mean, America. Are you still in the woods?
I'm in Nigeria, so I'm always in the woods for now. You can hear me, right? Oh, fantastic.
Yes, I can hear you.
I've heard quite amazing views on this situation, but there's one part that, when it comes to the cons, right? I'm an advocate for, CSR, right? Even not just, maybe not as a corporate, but personally, I even won an award in my previous company as a staff for CSR. So, but there's this part of this black tax that I think that needs to be addressed. And I saw him one night working about, uplifting communities through intentionally funding, little by little, little drops of water makes a mighty ocean, then everybody goes there to swim. You know what I'm saying? There's a part that bothers me, and that's where accountability comes into play, and that's where abuse of the situation comes into play. And it will bother me from now to the next time, and that's irresponsible parents. We don't talk about this enough in Africa. We don't talk about this enough. I think that, when I go around and I see little kids hawking, saying, oh, they're looking for money for their school fees, that thing blows my mind. You're having a 9-year-old giving a tray of banana or something quite heavy or even light. And then that child has the mindset that he's hustling for their school fees. And you are below what? You have a guardian that brought you into the world. Then there's the ones where children are being made to go and do the asking. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from. Those extremely irresponsible parents that hide under this black tax. I want first set, those ones that keep giving birth every 9 months, but they can't even take care of the kids, and they try to outsource the responsibility of taking care of the children. Explain to me why you have 7 kids. Explain to me why you have 10 kids, 9 kids, even 4 kids, and none of them are in school. And then the next year or the next 2 years down the line, there's another child, groveling in the dirt, just like the other 4 before them. You see, when you begin to, I think at some point, we have to find that balance between reorientation and, trying to uplift the society. Because, you see, when the people that are working hard and trying to give back to the community are doing that, if you now have the irresponsible ones who do not pull their own weight, it now looks like those that are doing theirs are just throwing their money
wasting their time.
Exactly. So there has to be a balance, because I think it's very upsetting to have people, and if you look at those that are giving back into this community purse, they don't have a lot of kids. Some of them are actually not married. And those that do have a lot of kids are very responsible with that. Because, of course, you have to be responsible with your spending, or extremely going the extra mile for you to be able to have extra to give someone else. There has to be a level of intentionality with iwepu ego na kijeji when nyonyozo. In him the kuchuka. So, at what point will there be a sanction or some form of call out or reorientation to those extremely irresponsible people who think that they came to this life to be taken care of? If they're not taking care of the community purse, they're taking care of by their children. Because explain to me why you are sitting by the corner of the road, you are sitting under the tree because it's too hot, and you are having your child hawk to get money for themselves. If you knew you couldn't take care of that child, why didn't you leave that child in heaven where that child was? Why do you have to bring a child into this world to come and take over your responsibility from when they are little till when you die?
And I don't know something now. When I do something, come out with them.
Yeah, they cannot. This children come and zwa her. You understand? How no katala like that, very irresponsible. Chonya got him. Yeah, doro him.
But haven't you heard that before? That Poor people have more sex than rich people.
Hey.
Like they
Right?
have more sense.
Sex.
Oh, okay.
I think that Canada.
Sugar. Sugar, see, poor people have more sex than rich people. Nah, no, been car before.
I never from here before.
I
because
mean,
because
they're
Hannah
not
went
busy
time.
now. They're not busy now. And the rich person, I mean, they get your kasi live in Lagos, but chamber hustle chan no na bata zebe 10. You can be with energy gem if you want. Maybe maybe one. I say na ke me ha sin na ika agula mo. What I just call 5 minutes, can I call 2 minutes ko nyobala yara hora. When I call the move. Man ndị nọ no since they nwere ihe ha ji onwe ha eme so ana akụrụ ihe na-aga.
Whatever
Sugar.
you want, there has to be consequences for your actions. By the time Ibrana community post say say, okay, Guinea key man, what are you going to do to show us that you want to pull your own weight? Because I think that there's a lot of nyam 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 around this place. Okay, economy had to go to what are you going to do? No one can expect those on our community post. Is it their responsibility for that? If you have a problem with that, face your constituency, face your government. You understand? Those are the people that that have a responsibility over you. But if your relatives want to go the extra mile to be able to uplift the community, you be reasonable, be responsible, and be useful. You can't know one corner. Now, never expectation of black tax. And the most annoying thing is that ha bịa na nga na-ekwu okwu a ị ga-ahụ nke ọnụ ha na-adị very sharp. Onye Chukwu gọziri ọ ga-agọzi ndị ụka ọzọ ya ọ bụghị otu esi eme ya ikelekele. I am wondering enyi ya iji ụmụ isii iji ụmụ asaa ọnụ gị na-ekwufu ọnụ gị aka. So at some point we have to, for me, I think that for me, any community that is serious about actually uplifting has to first do that orientation first. Or less Ogadika Abyss, Afugomia. I've seen it since I was born till now. In fact, all him social like and influence my viewpoint when it comes to CSR. I don't just see any person that no, there has to be intentionality from your end. If I don't see any intentionality, you already know that you're not even going to go far with me. Like it's not going to work. So if we try to, other people cannot be working for you. They are not your parents. But what you can do is join the reorientation, be useful. And I think that those of our brothers out there that are God bless everybody outside, inside, beside, everywhere that are doing their best to be able to help people. I know how it is. It's not easy. And God bless you. And I know you're doing it for your own self because of what you believe in. Even if it's one person, one school fees, one person, 1 year like that. God bless you. Right? So I think that another way again is for us to look at individuals that are responsible and reasonable and work with those people. See, people that are irresponsible are a waste of time, a waste of resources. You will see it happen 10 years later. Goes to university. Your own children will pay their own children. I'm telling you, I've seen it live. After you finish training the father, your own children will grow up and train their children. It doesn't end. So that's my own cons with all black tax.
On my story, if I could now, it reminds me of a very sad story of a guy. Onya Kita be multi-billionaire right now, in fact. But I remember. Hello?
Go ahead, Chuka. Go ahead. I know. Go ahead.
It's like Mary is trying to speak. I don't know. Okay, I can't hear her anymore. So this particular guy, people don't like criticize. Yeah, you know, the one year work hard rock only 1 year work with ego. So I'm gonna put it in. More where drive just say female and their relationship. Only Western. I don't come as a criticism. I was just asking questions, because I'm not. When you say an abnormality, sometimes there's a story behind it. So I asked, and I was told that this guy, before this guy became a billionaire, when he was still building his wealth, at a lower level, Obogo millionaire then, that he asked his elder brother, this guy na rapozilaka, elder brother, ogwalesia, ke business is chọrọ ime now. Or ka ime nke ahụ ị na-eme kịta, ya kwado nke ahụ ị na-eme now. How do we help you? How can we help you? How can I help you? They agreed on building material trading. He rented a shop for his brother. Our elder brother. He rented a shop for him, filled it with all the things the guy who needed to business with. Filled the shop completely with those things. Gotalia, before getting out of all, different things getting the single getting out of all. Near some connections to Ndioma already. Makanya we're not into real estate. This guy will be the business. Within 1 year, this guy leader, he got back another shop where they go very nice car. As in, when they go at another shop or they go a very nice car. Within 1 year.
Because almost in 1 year, he knows that his brother is there. So also the child hold on his and you could go.
1 year, can I say, na kezi one kiji go to moto. A girl's kezi want to say, out of profits, you go motor. Or is if I can go to motor. Out of profits, because where they go motor. It is easy to go motor. Kezi for what is it? What's going on? Or say, or so get my motor. In a boys, just come out boys motor. You know, and that was it. The guy cried. The younger brother cried like, hi. You know, he was crying out of agony, like one day we'll catch your able man. You know, so that is one of the reasons why he doesn't bother giving him anything, because he feels that I'm wasting my money on this guy. But whatever the reason was why he found himself in that behavior, I don't know. But that relates to what Priscilla was talking about, you know, orientation. Mary, you've been trying to speak. I'm already want to go Obele network. Okay, Charlie, you need some powers.
It's back now.
If you need some powers, you can gather some powers. I
need some powers. No, I was just going to say that I think also that, and I think it's a conflation of many things, that when you keep giving people, that dependency culture and arises, and they never really know how to manage. As a giver, because you already have programmed your head, now when the nature can many end of the month.
I can't hear her anymore. Casey, can you hear her?
No, I think we lost her.
Oh,
I think we lost her.
Eventually, Joseph, talking about the orientation, what is the most influential elements or most influential agency of information sharing in our society? Is the church, right?
Yes, you can classify the church as being number one. Which in this conversation, I don't think it helps. Maybe more my sentiment or how I feel about the church, but I just been Mocha in a very long time. So would I even want to start that religious conversation with me, because my ideas and my ideology generally when it comes to the church, it doesn't align. Funny enough, I grew up in a church. I went to a seminary school. I went to a seminary school.
Mary's brothers.
No, I Jem na Port Harcourt, Sacred Heart Seminary. So I was actually very strong. My mom was president of CW then, na Port Harcourt, fully involved in the church process. Me and my three brothers, they all sent us to seminary school with the intention that one of us would end up being a priest. Nah. None of that happened.
I can't even imagine you be a priest.
Once you taste the forbidden fruit.
And what does it matter?
You tasted the forbidden fruit. You know this is
get a kind of cut hand myself.
So once you do it, you just admire from afar. You know, we just say many are called, but few are chosen. God did not choose me. So I move on. So that being said, you know, the church has its own. That's a different conversation. But see, my hand feel, I think all of this boils down to conversation in nine anyway. I feel like it boils down to one foundational element. It may help family, parenting. That's all it is. That's all it is. Mary has spoken about it. Priscilla, I think, spoke briefly about it. But every person that comes in and says something, I still like it boils down to family. You said something about, where does that foundation begin? We brought it back to family. It seems everything be just circles around the family. And it makes sense because, but the first point of influence you have in a child's life to actually have the opportunity to shape the direction that child has to go in or chooses to go in, right? So if you miss any critical aspect of it, it creates a problem you might not see today, but you might see down the road in the future, right? And a lot of times you can see a clear difference between families that are very stable and unstable families. You see it in, how they raise their children, where their children turn out to become. A lot of times, parents use so many different avenues to get it done. Now, when they're fully involved in the church, which the church, does a good job at, instilling that morality, especially at the early stage. But then some people choose to do it themselves with so many other different means, they non-religious, choose, whatever aspect they decide to go with. But I feel like, but the foundation that makes all of these differences. What Mary was talking about, the very fundamental, how the important. And Mary said that you have to start reading. Basically, you have to start enlightening yourself. Me, I believe strongly in it. I don't believe you really have to read because there are so many different options that can still, create that knowledge issue. But I believe you have to find a way to teach yourself. One of my favorite philosophers, Plato, said that it's better to be unborn rather than to be untaught, because ignorance is just the root of misfortune. So it better me to not born you at all than for you to. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's better just don't be born than for you not to be on top, because ignorance is the root of misfortune. So to create fortune, you have to get rid of ignorance. It doesn't necessarily. So in no way, just you hold your phone. What do you consume? What do you like? What does your mind consume? Do you scroll through Instagram pages and pages? Now I'm consuming content. Or do you find things that will actually, instill some type of knowledge? Like, what do you give your time? Because that's essentially what creates your path. It's not in here, bro. It's not. There's no complexity. Or complex, sugar. It's not complex. It's simple and straightforward. What you consume, garbage in. What you put in is what you bring out, garbage out. If you decide to read 3 financial books, good financial books, you have good financial literacy. If you switch to find 3 good engineering books, you have very basic good engineering literacy. Bro, there's no two ways about it. So you have to consume the things that will, give you the knowledge that you're seeking to be able to drive that direction in your life. So I believe strongly in what Mary is saying, but it necessarily doesn't have to be books. It could be skill. Oh, you know what? Can't just one no plumbing. Can't just one no mechanic. Let me just go and learn something. Like, now this part of the world, they know you can be seeking for help when it comes to, maintaining your car, maintaining your home, or some of the, fixed assets anyway, because it's so expensive. At some point, you have to learn how to do some of those things yourself. And oftentimes, you see some of those videos, people post it, they are doing DIY projects, and they're doing things, you're learning how to do things yourself. So whether it's on that level, on a different level, maybe IT or whatever, you have to challenge yourself to learn new skills. In there, Nanya, I'll give you a good example. And this is my own personal experience. Okay, Mbia, this must have been 11 years ago when I first moved here. I wanted to choose a career path for myself. I had a degree and background in accounting from Nigeria. But I didn't know. I feel like every person at some point, not when no stage Gano, you just don't know what to do with your life. Like, abroad, not like you lack ideas per se, but all just that You're taking time to choose, get direction and get gen. Now, what should I do? Should I go into this? Should I go into that? Like, you're trying to figure yourself out. Oftentimes, there are educational counselors or career counselors that can help you with that. Or you can talk to your friends, but sometimes you can decide to find out by yourself. So when I first came again to school, I didn't really know. So what I started doing was I started doing so many different things in school then. And when course somebody that will give you a certificate in real estate, mayor, so I'll have that certificate. And when course that will give you a certificate in finance, a part of the courses in it, mayor, so I was doing so many different things. I had forensic accounting, and I was just doing things. Camera or not, any door that opens. Project management, I did it. No, let me just be doing. You understand? Because I didn't have a clear direction. But what actually led me to finance and career non-abo, I said, okay, let me figure out the environment in no. Let me know what it looks like, forward looking, like how does things look like. So by doing that, I say, okay, let me look at jobs. At these sectors, what are the key sectors in Canada? Which was easy back then. Okay, made the research. It was simple. The biggest sectors there, energy sector, right? Real estate sector, financial sector. These are the three backbones. Industrial, very slow, but these are the three backbones that hold the Canadian economy strongly. So what that means to health sector, you might add it there with industrial. Now, in any of these sectors, the likelihood of you having a successful career is very, very high. So it's easy for you to pursue career in these sectors. And then the next thing you got chosen, okay, now these sectors, now this particular sector, you choose. What are the jobs like? Go to the whole financial sector. Should I go into real estate? Should I go into accounting? Should I go into finance? Should I go into corporate finance? Like, specify it, get non in kitchen. And then what will it take you to get to the highest level of skill set you need to perform there? And then what would your remuneration be? What would you be rewarded financially for it? You take some time, make these calculations, and then you figure out, oh, okay, Njeba, this is what it's going to take me, how long it will take me to get here, and this is what I could potentially make. Nje here. And again, this is not available in every environment. Or in Nigeria, you can't be, sometimes you may not be able to make this assessment. You just not go to a survival mode. You're just trying to survive first, right? So they're not different depending on the environment you find yourself. But you also have to realize that you have to make decisions that will put yourself in certain positions. Like, you could have easily done nothing, right? But again, as we've established, it's better for me to be unborn than for me to be untaught. I have to find a way to instill some knowledge in myself consciously. I have to do that. Or bro, no, they say you have to find things. Whether it's a book you pick to read, people you choose to associate yourself with, YouTube videos you choose to watch, skills you choose to pursue, but there has to be a proactive approach by you wanting to change your outcome and circumstance by seeking additional knowledge. That's what I believe in firmly, and I believe that changes direction and course of life for most people, and it's evident by people who've been successful. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Casey. I've been trying to drag some of my fellow Umuibo friends and Umunne here to come and continue on this conversation, but maybe nobody they don't want to say what they don't have the opportunity to join us and speak. But so far, this has been an interesting conversation. People were trying to avoid the conversation because they were thinking that we're coming to accuse them of fleecing people in the name of black tax. But that's not what this conversation is about. This conversation is about understanding that our economy is struggling and that the money that the few who are doing okay are making cannot go around. It can't go around doing welfare work or playing serving welfare purposes. The only way it can go around is that the ones who are seeking the help are finding ways to make the most of the money that is coming to them by using it to produce after itself and be able to earn money. Then when that happens, that's why I was saying, should we go from black tax to black empowerment? Because if there are 5 million people who are struggling to take care of themselves, and there are 500,000 people who are doing okay, and the ones who are doing okay are moving money to those who are not doing well, and out of the 5 million people, 1 million of them are able to make something of themselves with the little money that's coming their way by investing the money in skill acquisition, starting one small business somewhere, doing just something that brings them money, learning a particular work or job that can earn them a living, and then the money is helping them to build it. At some point, they become independent. The number begins to reduce from 5 million to 4 million. We have to find a way to make this black something work, whether it's black tax or black empowerment. That's what we're trying to just, so that the 500,000 don't get tired. Like, this goes on for a lifetime. What is this? Rather, we'll see how we can have maybe 1 million people from the 5 million move and join the 500,000. So we have 150,000 people and then 4 million people left. 1.5 million people on the side of the people that are given, while we have 4 million people left. That's a way to kind of, balance the scale, reduce poverty, literally, and make things work better. That's what this conversation really was supposed to be about. I have Tupac Katari here. Hello, Tupac.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
Yes, I'm all right. I just saw this discussion by accident. Someone sent it to me, so I've just been listening. I'm not Nigerian myself, so forgive me.
I can see that. You're from where?
I'm Zimbabwean.
I can see that from your flag. It's beautiful to have you. It's beautiful. Have you heard about the Igbo tribe before?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Nigeria. I mean, I live in the UK, so like Nigerians were like the first people I encountered. So I'm quite familiar with Igbo or with Nigerian culture and all that, to some extent, of course.
Welcome to the MONI Show. This is a conversation that we have as Igbos, where we discuss how to progress, how to better ourselves, how to develop our society. That's what we do. So it's beautiful to have you listen all this while and then now try to bring in some of your thoughts. That's beautiful. Let's hear you.
So, I mean, I got interested in it because there's so many overlaps with us as well, because for where I'm from in Zimbabwe, the whole black tax culture kind of exploded when the economy tanked. I don't know how much you know about Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
But basically what's happening in Nigeria now with the currency collapsing, in Zimbabwe it was like 10 times worse. So where I'm from now, you've got like generations of people who you've got generations of people who've seen their mothers and grandfathers. The only time they've earned money is when it's end of the month, going to Western Union. So there's now this culture where the moment you leave the country, you're automatically seen as an ATM. So I find myself agreeing with the lady who was talking that this practice, you can help people at an individual level, but on a communal level, all you do is create dependency. Because when you help one person, there's 3-4 other people who are looking at that person, and it could be like, that could be me. And it's just never ending. So I probably had more that I've forgotten to say, but it will come back to me. But for now, that's my contribution.
So from what you're saying, this is obviously an African thing, not just a Nigerian problem.
Definitely. Like, I don't know what it is about us as people where we want to attach ourselves to other people's hard work. I don't know what it is. If my brother becomes a millionaire, I should be a millionaire too. That's the kind of like the culture I see across the board in Africa, where you're not really an individual. You're not allowed to be an individual in any way. It's whatever you have, you must sacrifice. No one is allowed to fly to close to the sun to see how far it can go. No one is allowed to do that. And then we wonder why generational poverty exists. Like nobody, if I say this right, if everyone who's growing wings has to sacrifice feather, who actually gets to grow their wings and see
fly?
Yeah, who gets to be that person? When do we decide, okay, let's let this person go and see how far it can go and come back? We can't allow that. It's the moment you have something, somebody needs it. You know, so yeah,
That's an
I don't
interesting
know how you
perspective.
I don't know how you don't build wealth in a situation like that, you know. And frankly, what really kills this practice of helping people is lack of family planning. You know,
Yep.
there are people who feel entitled to breed, populate the earth, and never ever have to look after the responsibilities of paying. I can tell you right now, if from my personal point of view, the number of people, you know, between my parents, I think they can create 2 football teams. And where are those people right now? What are they doing today? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
What don't you
Couldn't
think
tell
this
you.
is? Don't you think this is as a result of a failed
It's
system? I mean,
entitlement. No, it's entitlement. If you feel
because
entitled to someone else's stuff, why should you work hard for it? Why should you
I,
value it?
I asked the question because you live in the UK, and where you live in the UK, they have a system. We don't have the
Yes, but
system in Africa. They have a system of welfare, right? So
true,
the people
true.
who would have otherwise been asking their relatives for help of some sort
Mhm.
are having to lean on the system of the government, the welfare system, to take care of them. So
True, true.
could this be because we have failed to provide that kind of system in Africa that we're having
To
this
an ex-
problem?
to an extent, yes. But when you send money back home, what are you really spending it for? Right? You're paying school fees. You're not paying. Most of the money sent back home is not for emergencies.
Mhm.
It's not. It's not because you're paying your most of the money that gets sent back to Africa is consumption. It's not investment. That's why a lot of it just goes down the drain. So why are we spending so much money on consumption? It's because a lot of people are being irresponsible. We can't control the system, but we can control our own decisions, i.e., family planning. That's the one thing we
Absolutely.
can control in this entire equation is family planning. And
Absolutely.
we refuse to talk about the one thing we can control.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it
That's the
boils down to the
one
family life.
thing. That's the
Yeah.
one thing we can control. Like it always used to surprise me how every time I go to the village, there was always someone new pregnant, and they would always hang around just so that we could see it for our benefit. So that 6 months down the line, when there's someone asking help, we see them before. Oh, remember that girl? Oh yeah. Like I saw that happen all my life. So
Wow.
and you know, and I just want to make one and also onto the entitlement thing as well, right? About helping
Yes.
people send them to school. There are also other dynamics you might not get. So like I came to England when I was 18. So I'd lived in Zimbabwe for a while. So I'd seen both sides. So I've lived
Mhm.
in Zimbabwe longer than here. So my sister went to university in South Africa and I went to a private school in Zimbabwe, right? So that reality alone word spread across the family because there were other cousins and other stepchildren who were struggling to go to school. And here's me going to a private school and my sister going to university in another country. So all of a sudden, discussion happening, blah blah blah. Oh, can we send some of those people there to your house so that you can educate them? Long story short, it's not good enough that they go into a government school, but we go to good schools. So even when you try to help people, entitlement can still ruin it. So, you know,
Do you
yeah.
know what I find
So,
funny? What I find interesting is you said whenever you go back to the village, there's always someone who's pregnant, and they try
yep,
to and
they show
they
you.
try to
They're always hanging
they try to
around.
show you so that
Yeah, they're
six
always
months
hanging
down the
around.
road.
Hmm. Yeah.
And we were saying earlier in the space that poor people have more sex. I mean, I just learned this today. Chuka made me learn this. Apparently, like poor people have more sex than rich people because apparently they have less time to
Yes.
work and they have more time
Yes.
to themselves. But it's funny and interesting you mentioned that because it feels like you hear about some of these things and you hear about some of your own challenges, but when you then hear other people's challenges and a perspective, in some ways it might be very similar, but in other ways it's different. You see the extent people go in terms of dependency, right? People feel that sense of entitlement, like it's there. People feel like, come on, you should help me. Why? What do you mean you're not helping me? And literally, you're a bad person for not helping, regardless of your situations, right? So you oftentimes see this come to play sometimes because Once in a while, you might get calls from people, maybe people who you haven't spoken to in years, people who, you probably just met for a very few period of time in your life, and, that was it. And they'll just reach out to you. And I find this very hilarious, though, even though my friends think it's very upsetting, that oftentimes when those kind of people, when they need your help and they reach out to you, they don't ask anything about how you're doing. If you even have a job, how you're surviving, if things are going well, they just tell you their problem right away.
On that one, sorry to butt in there, but it's just I'll lose my train of thought. I do apologize. So
no worries.
So I'm early 30s, right? I have no children, and I had to cut someone off because they said I don't have children. What am I doing with my money?
Damn.
Right? Damn.
Right?
Damn.
I posted the pic. I posted. There's a reason I don't use my real name in socials anymore, because I don't want people to search my name. I don't. Simply posting a picture of a used car that I bought 7 years ago. Me chilling in a car I bought 7 years ago, when cars were cheap, early days of COVID, and then I had money in my hands. And then, it was like, just buy cars and you don't have kids. What do you do with your money? I need money for school fees. Yeah.
Wow.
And that was it. So, yeah. So, there you go.
Wow.
I've never heard that before, man. That's like, you don't have children. What are you doing with your money? Come on, be set. Hey. Nah,
yes.
This is the kind of thing that will make me say it in Igbo. I want to balloon again.
No, so someone told me about what you people do, that you guys have a mental system that someone can work 10 years for somebody, being taught the business, and then when they've learned up the business, then there's a payback system somehow, something like that. That's why Igbos are good in business. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, we've practiced this for more than 50 years now.
Yeah.
People is mostly in the trading field, and also handiwork. People who are into basic skills.
But it's also
I mean, everything human beings do, abuse creeps in at some point if there are no laid down rules or regulations. That's what happened with this. So people had to survive, and once someone tries to starts to do well in trading, he goes back to his community, probably to his family or extended family, and he looks for someone, a kid, maybe 12 years old or 13-year-old kid. He picks up the kid, takes the kid to the city to join him as a servant. Just call it a servant. But the kid is under apprenticeship, right? So the kid is learning everything about the business, everything. While the kid also helps at home, wash the car, wash the clothes, clean up the house. So the kid is overworking. The kid is learning work ethic by force. The kid is learning to just work and work and work until he gets used to it. By the time he gets to the office, he gets to the shop, what we call it shop here. He gets to the shop before the master. Call it master. He gets to the shop before the master. He leaves after the master. He learns timing. He learns punctuality. He learns several important values and virtues that helps him naturally blossom, even without so much help from his master. So by the time he spends 7 years, it's usually between 5 and 7 years. By the time he spends 7 years, he has learned a lot. He has grown. He has become more mature, more exposed. He has also gotten to know people in the business. He has met a lot of partners, a lot of clients. He has learned the language. He has learned accounting. He has learned what's the other one? Basically everything about the business.
Customer service.
I was even looking at the other one that has to do with the Oyibo boss. Anyway, he gets to the point where the master will settle him after 7 years. The master will settle him with an amount of money, or the master will fill another shop, will buy another shop that does the same thing, deals on the same goods, and fill it up with goods, and then ask him to go start business with that one. So he's not starting from ground zero.
Okay. I just I've one final contribution, because before I spoke, there was a gentleman who was talking about choosing somebody with potential, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. So I just have a quick scenario, right? So let's say you have a chance to help an individual. Would you pick someone who was an only child, or someone who was like one of 6 kids?
Honestly, I'm different about this. I like to look at the
Because
potential,
it's
look at the individual.
because I worry, like, you
I
empower one
might
person, are you just not creating like another seed, someone who's going to have 5 people hanging on to them?
if you have 9 kids and I see a special kid among your 9 kids that I just see something in this kid, I might choose the kid from your family rather than a kid from a family of 3 kids. Do you understand? Just because I saw something that I think I can invest in. That's how I see it. But other people might
Yeah.
have another way of looking at it.
Now, I look at it as, like you said earlier, like our resources are minuscule. So if I give somebody, if I empower somebody who's 5 siblings, and the moment he gets a job, he has 5 kids that he's given birth to automatically, or one person who, the moment they graduate, they are able to invest in their wealth. I mean, it's a harsh world, but for me, yeah, resources are finite, and we can't be emotional about these things. Being emotional about these things has led us to where we are.
Hmm.
That's the honest
Yeah.
truth.
I think I'll go with Chika though. I'll go with Chika. It's all about potential, because the way you look at it is an investment,
Yeah.
right? And with
Yeah.
every investment, you have to make that financial assessment. You have to do the feasibility and figure out, okay, what's going to be the end result of it? At the end of the day, what do I hope to accomplish? What do I want my result? And who do I see that has the potential to bring about that result? That's clearly the assessment. Like sometimes you look at kids and you can tell maybe at that very young age, the kids who have the potential, based on their interest and the drive and certain, characteristics you've seen in them. It tells you really what that potential that child has is and what they potentially can do. So I think that's where I'll go. But we talked about the apprenticeship system, and funny enough, sugar, it's to me, it's a black tax system though. If you look at
Yeah.
it, like depending on the main system, but it's clearly that's what it is. There's no, I think it is, because just by choosing and willing to help someone else succeed, I think you're clearly bringing about that reward system.
Yes.
Helping someone, set up and establish, I think is great. You, as the master, what do you get? You get cheap labor,
Yeah.
right? You get an employee who is dedicated, hardworking, potentially
Loyal.
hardworking, and loyal, right? Loyalty is a big part in trade and business. And then to the person, what do they get? They have the opportunity to learn, right? You go through a system where you acquire skills, and that skills will be meaningful and valuable when you eventually set up. So, and I think it's the same thing when we start looking at how do we then help out? How do we contribute? We've talked about it here today, but we have to look at it again from that mindset, from an investment mindset. I don't want to give you money, but I'll rather set up something for you so that you can be meaningful to yourself and the people around you in one or two ways. Because, and again, it's not just setting up something, it's making sure they have the skill set, which then boils back to, does that person have that potential? Do you see in them someone who can run something, an enterprise, and make it very successful, and then be able to help themselves and the people who are around them? Because that's clearly what it is. And it comes down to what we've talked about again. You can only help people who want to help themselves. You have to want it more for themselves more than you want it for them. And that's it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Actually, Casey hit on something that I think I've been missing. That you just literally gave me clarity now. That you only help people who wanted for themselves, or even more than even you wanted themselves. So I think that part of what has possibly happened with this giving back thing is that we have a vision of what we're looking to achieve, and we're sometimes literally dragging people who can be bothered, who think, what's my own with this person? And just like where I am, where when I call you, you give me. Why do you want me to be the one taking care of me? I think you gave me perspective that I had not really said. Because one of the things that I mean, I had one of the mentioned here was also just the guilt. How do you deal with the guilt of being successful, quote and unquote, whatever that means? And you have everybody around you sort of struggling. And you have done what you think is the best. How do you deal with that guilt? And that's something I have lived with for years. How do I manage the fact that I seem to be doing well? What am I doing differently? What could I have done differently? Is there something I can do that can change the narrative? How do you live with that guilt? Because for years, I was just thinking that it was in some weird ways, my fault. And nobody could tell me otherwise. I just felt there's something I'm not doing right. How am I okay and they're not okay? What did I miss? But I think that what I missed was the fact that I wanted it more for them than they wanted it for themselves. And I think that was why it looked as if I was wasting my time. So thanks for that perspective. It just literally had a light bulb moment now. Thank you.
Yeah, and I see too, like culturally, it's something you see oftentimes in families and different environments too, where if in a small family setting there's someone who's doing prominently well and the rest are kind of struggling, and the right thing to do obviously is to find a way to lift everybody up, because clearly what's better than one successful person is two, three. It's when we are successful, it makes sense. There's less dependency and everyone can thrive on their own. But there's also another part of it which I don't know. Again, I'm gonna be. This is very superficial, but I'll say this just based on there's really no research to back it up, but based on my personal observation, it kind of feels like maybe it's an African thing or maybe it's just a Nigerian thing. But people in social classes, I really enjoy being in that position and making sure everyone else is beneath them. You see this. I'll use a very small example to point this out. You can see people buy maybe a particular brand of cloth and say, oh, when they see someone wear it, oh, they will get rid of that cloth. I don't want anyone else to wear. I want to be the only. You understand? Like placing yourself in one particular, I don't know, one hemisphere or whatever you choose to call it. But it also portrays to in the social class, like in a cultural context, kind of feels like, when you're in that position, you enjoy having everyone else beneath you, just to be tossing things around. It makes you feel special. It gives you that gratification that you want as someone who's accomplished. It's wrong, morally wrong. And it's very prominent in society, not just, just in the East or anywhere, even in the North. When you see it, when you look at their social class, it's very evident. It feels like, I don't know where, even in our political class, you see it, all these young people, they want to be going around politicians. Those people enjoy it. They want to use you, toss you around, give you small change here and there. They enjoy the fact that it feels like they are dominant and every other person is just submissive to them. So why would I want to lift you guys up when I enjoy the class I'm in, when I enjoy the position I'm in, when I enjoy that I'm being served by every one of you? Do you understand where I'm pointing to? I don't know if you get what I mean, but it feels like it's a part of the culture, a part of our society.
I see where you're going, right? And in some ways, I think as what happened with that my Don Tata uncle, why I said I'm not going back to his house ever, because I just figured I only get kind of money. But I think that, so there is that, right? And I think the response to that is to ignore the person and their money and just think they don't exist. And I promise you'll be fine. Because then you're focused on how do I succeed in spite of this person. It becomes a personal mission for you. You will thrive. But the one I sort of struggle with is where you're thinking, how am I lifting these people up? How do I ensure that they're fine? But it just seems as if all you're doing is pouring water into a bottomless pit.
Basket case.
No matter how much. I remember one of my bosses had said, former bosses said to me, Mary, you have to fill yourself up first before you try trying to fill up someone else. it didn't make sense. I'm an Igbo girl. He's not an Igbo person. He didn't understand. I thought he didn't understand. I look back and I think there's a lot of wisdom in what he was saying. And sort of when I have younger people who have the black tax already following them, I say, hey, madam, let me tell you the truth. If you start this trajectory, it doesn't end. You're creating dependency, you're creating entitlement, you're creating incredibly selfish people who won't even do a quarter of what you've done for them. You'll be amazed. A quarter, like when you think, oh, let me just quickly ask, you won't find that same reciprocity. I think that it is the fact that they don't want what you want, or they think that you're doing too much, and so you were created to serve them in some ways. So while I'm very big on let's help, let's give back, increasingly I'm coming to the point where I think that there's something about the what is it called, the charism of not giving, of thinking, look, you want help, can I lift you up some other way? Can you learn a trade? Can you work for me in exchange for going to school? Can you, I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Something else. Yeah. I think that we need to reinforce the dignity of labor and how there's something just really inherently wrong in this just disgusting
handouts
behavior.
Turn it from handouts to investment. I think that makes a lot of sense.
It is ridiculous.
We've not even talked about Chika, we've not talked about, we've talked about relatives and all. What about parents? Is that justifiable? Do you feel like inherently it's a thing? There's no questions there. You have to always come back to because again, it's not a cultural thing.
You mean offspring to parents?
Yes.
No, don't go there. Don't go there.
It might depend on who you ask. But
why I say don't go there is because, like you said,
my brother,
like you said,
you will do what you can.
like you said earlier, the system does not take care of our seniors in any way in Nigeria. Even the pension they're supposed to earn, sometimes government is the pension. So we just have to take care of our seniors, at least our parents or uncle, auntie. I was discussing with a doctor just a few days ago about an aunt of mine, one of the remaining aunts of mine, who has eye problems. And I was like, if I get even if it means to fly her to Europe, because there was some kind of program on, I was like, maybe she could benefit from this. Is this going to rescue her from blindness tendency? You know, she's not my mom. She's my mom's younger sister, but my mom is late, you know. So the reason why I think that way towards her is because we don't have a system that takes care of people like her. She's in her 70s, almost 80. We don't have a system that takes care of people like her. So what if I get more about that one? Until we've gotten to the point where the money we are earning, the tax that we are paying, part of it is going to taking care of these people. Having them prioritized, having their well-being prioritized by the government. Until we get to that point, I don't think we have a choice. But everything should be measured. When we find a mess sometimes they're very wrong. I'm going to close with this. We try to overcompensate with our parents. Like, or your mother talafu wears zwagi, your father talafu wears zwagi. You watched your father suffer almost all his adult life as a parent, right? It was like he will ego, maybe the man, maybe his life. Then you forget something. You want to overcompensate. Hey, go tell you all those things. Most of the times, you're not looking at the person. What makes a gift valuable is what the recipient appreciates, not what you're given. A lot of people have lost their parents. I learned this thing from older people that I talk with. A lot of people have lost their parents because of overcompensation. Sometimes your mother is living in a small flat, 2-bedroom flat somewhere, and then because it's a mansion, she will be there with house help. It's just a matter of time. She will die of loneliness. It will feel like there's too much void in her life. She won't survive it unless you fill that house with human beings every day, gonna joy. which is almost unlikely. Second thing, bro, onye mana ona like ijoku si ebe anu obodo village, ona like isi okwu ebe jeke, isi okwu jeba jutebe ni, jukulutebe ni, ka kene ndị a ejeje gotali a jeep. Onye driver gonna ebuali everywhere. You're going to kill the woman. That's not, I mean, she had lived up till 65, 70, 75, the normal way she has been living. Then you want to suddenly alter all those things she has done with her life. She has taken a form. Whatever you're introducing is an unnecessary excess. You're going to kill her. You think you're making her happy. You're not. Sometimes the only agent on Obodo, because if you na back and you talk also enjoy. Oh, you're able to I notice a lot of old people. Oh, look, another winter they run to Nigeria because all the too much for them. You know, there are certain things we do that makes it look like we are trying to show them that we love them, but we are overcompensating, and it's not helping them. So we have to still, understand how to create some balance when we're trying to reward them for being great as parents. Oh, when they cannot manipulate, and when they not manipulate, when they need, as in, they will just be collecting from their from their children all the time. What we had the money, when you was like this, he's in a bed, under her bed, for so much money, salary. What he hate, man. Just because the person just like to collect and keep. Then always the worst of all of this is in the Kenya where bunyendoka. I'm a chosen. Inato mugego nakatasia hego. Wale aje bunyendoka. Muge na atakwa fu after this morning. Sina doka na belo hekbele. So
You can question here.
We need to talk about religion. One of these days, I need you equal for religion.
We will.
It's coming.
I'm very much no problems. I'll be dead. I'm very much no slander of the church is allowed where I am. No slander of the church.
Wake me up, Chuka. If I'm sleeping, wake me up. Bring Mary. Mary must be there. That day.
Mary must be there. Wake me up. The church. No slander of the church is allowed.
This is not slander.
When pastor, my youth pastor, bring them. Bring that day. That day.
I wish he was an Igbo man. I would have invited him to the MONI show. If he was an Igbo man, I would have done that. I've thought about it, but these are real issues. If you can't cook it, personally, the guy belly. I'm a million bellies. I mean, I'm not here. Go state. You're not here. Hi. On a call it now, say I'm not going. You are the one that is allowing this nonsense. Yeah, I'll settle that matter. I'll create a system around her. She won't see cash again. In hope no need it. In West supermarkets in Enugu and some parts of Anibo, I gonna supply them by the no.
You have to understand that their parents are also adults and they are free to spend their money as they deem fit.
Is that what I heard? You name a Maggie 200,000, Maggie 150,000 a month.
One of my mother said, life. Oh, my mother against that. She loved the thing, and I said, Mommy, can you not see they're scamming you and your sisters? Scammers. They said this prophecy will happen. It did not happen. The second prophecy will happen. It did not happen. What are you still going back there to do? Just use your common sense. If it was true, it should have happened. If it is not happening, he's lying. It is either or. It is not maybe.
But the problem is that your money can't meditate. Yeah. That's my issue.
No, but what I'm saying is that they know that they cannot ask me. Okay. But if I give you money, it's not okay. Spend as you. This is your money.
What unique relationship between mothers and their last son. Are you aware? Or their first son?
And their sons generally.
So, maybe if one person didn't water as her allocation every month, bụ 200,000 because nwa ya na-akpata ego.
Eh.
Nwa ya nyekwa 200,000 awa. Ọnọkọtakwa kpọpụtakwa bịakpọkwa ya dịka onwe emergency. Nna, nye m ego agwụgo, nye m ego. O weta ya as emergency. Nwaanyị akago nka, so egwu na-atụ gị na ịrapụrụ nwaanyị ọnwụọ na asị na inyere ya ego. I werekwa 100k nyekwa ya na top of that one. Kpọkwa gị another 2 weeks again. Kpọkwa gị ọzọ. Nwa m enyi dị o were oje bunye ụlọ.
Na-enye pastor.
Na-enye
pastor na-create cash flow. Na-enye pastor. Leave this topic for another day. Agwago m unu. Leave this topic for another day. Agwago m unu. Let's leave this topic for another day. Pastor na-create cash flow. Where 4 or 5, even multiple of them, na-ebute na-enye pastor.
We'll
talk about it. Don't worry.
What I would say, just to strike a balance about this, we are not against giving alms to the church, but I believe that you give from what you earn. Not go have tarafu. No, on get pataki nye chuku. I didn't expect you again. God knows that she's a retiree. So God is not expecting what she doesn't have from her.
I don't mind me.
The pastor needs it. God doesn't. God doesn't need it. It's the pastor who needs it. That one when financial needs only they take care of. And when you wag no need the ego.
So if you have one car now, I got where church tax.
Whatever it is, right?
Fix the topic. But a pastor.
I completely don't subscribe to that culture of Inyendi, of umekwe nonsense. I think it's a waste of time. I think it is also responsible for the particular situation in which Nigerians are now, because they have outsourced their brains. And pastor sekoha, pastor seha. What is that? If you have a problem, you go down your knees and you talk to Jesus. I promise you, he will answer you. The answer is one of 3 things: yes, no, or wait. But answer, he will answer. Just go down your knees. So anybody say no, I got one pastor, they're wasting your time. So fix the dates. Like I said, I'm not of the church. No church slander is allowed. I will be there.
Any pastor with balance of some sort that can come and join us in a conversation like this, you can recommend. I'm willing to reach out to the pastor and see if we can have him, join us.
Or any other pastor. Ndị na-eme prophecy reduce you exchange rate. If those people let's have the conversation. Change the weather n'obodo oyibo.
It's been a very nice conversation. We have proven today that you can actually have a beautiful conversation even by a few people, and this has been a very, very critical discussion, critical to our economy, critical to our well-being, critical to our society as a whole, because then we give we're buying a Ghana and or beyond the I go to nobody. So we need to do something about it. That's why we decided to have this conversation, and it has really, really come out well. The presentations, the ideas and insights have been very interesting. I can imagine what the person who will listen to this later would take, from what they are hearing. That makes a lot of sense. And I want to appreciate all the speakers, everybody who came to the conversation to bring value to what we're doing. Mary, I can't see the other people that spoke of Abagoso. And then my co-host, as always, Casey and Service Culture, Priscilla. So I give me Cheba Noah. We'll do it again next Saturday. I promise you it's going to be very, very interesting. Please feel free to share this space with people in your DM, on your WhatsApp. Let them go and listen to it later. We'll also do our best to make it post-production and put on YouTube so people outside Twitter can also go and listen. Expand our audience. As you all know, the purpose of these conversations is just to create public education, create awareness, enlighten the people, get information spreading, create room for conversations, hear each other, understand our problems, and then figure out solutions that can be implemented as a collective and as individuals so that we can move forward as Omibo. Or if I put that. So till next Saturday, 8 p.m., when we meet again to discuss Makode Mandibo. It's
the Money Show. Makode Mandibo.